Ladies and gentlemen, we are here to blow your mind on the Stafford Music Studio.
And now it's time for Stafford's Music Studio Live.
I went to Walmart. Had to go to Walmart, man. I'm sure this is probably at everybody else's location as well. Went to Walmart, man, and it was the weirdest thing.
Nux Wireless? Is that right? MUX?
Yes.
Nux Wireless.
We stood outside the rain or was playing or whatever.
Well, he did this thing. He goes, have you ever tried wireless systems that you play and there's this lag?
Latency.
And so he plugs in the wireless and he plays a chord. And it never comes out of his amp, and then he goes to bed. And then, like, a couple hours later, he goes,
What the?
Say that, don't worry. Oh, man. Let's see if it's even. Hey, there it is.
Yeah, there it is. There's a live music right there.
So please join us watching the Joe Wentz Project TV. The host himself, David Stafford from the Stafford's Music Studio. And let's not forget this crazy guy, R2R3 Lockingnut.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
I love that intro. Happy Friday, everybody.
Happy Friday, man.
Can you
Good evening,
believe
gentlemen.
it's Friday like that again, everybody? Damn. Happy Friday, my brother R2 and Joe. Brother Joe.
What's up, Dave?
It's a quick week.
what's up,
What
my
we
friends?
got? Oh, it's a big night. We got a very special guest on. We got 22 watching. And everyone here knows we have none other than Steve Stine on. And without any further ado, let's welcome him and bring him in. Steve Stine, everybody.
Woo!
Steve.
How you been doing?
Legendary. Good, man. Happy Friday.
Good, yes. Happy Friday to you.
So
Happy
glad
Friday,
you could
man.
make it, man. So glad it's
It's a pleasure.
especially if you said you're having some storms out there, right?
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be starting sometime soon, and
Oh boy.
with COVID, what else is there to do on a Friday?
Right? That's why we're like Fridays are great right now. So
Thank you for hanging out with us, man, because especially, man, you're a busy guy. You were, like, live earlier today,
Yep.
and did you get any sleep, man, or take a nap?
I do. I don't get a lot of sleep. I pride myself on getting about 5 or 6 hours a night, but that's enough for me.
There you go. All right.
right. Same here until you stay up till 3, then you need a couple naps. Oh, man. I tell you what, we got a great show tonight. We're going to do the 3 segments. We got Steve Stine here, so everyone get your questions ready. We have a man, he's a fountain of knowledge. Anyone that doesn't know who Steve Stine is, make sure you check him out in the links and watch the show. You will definitely know who he is by the end of the show. He is a guitar teacher, virtuoso. He is the man, the Dakota Destroyer on guitar. He is Steve Stine. So I am so honored to have you on, Steve. We have lots of things to talk about. We're going to, I guess, just to dig right into them. I didn't do roll call. We got 24 watching. I can do just a quick zip through. We got Andy Dion, Brother Bruce, Zach Thone, 6-string Brian McHaman, Dog Paw, Great Manzini, Han Solo, Charlie S., Dry Heat, Jimmy Biter, Lori's Miss Mosh. Anybody else? If you're watching, lurking, jump in the chat, say hi, bring a question in.
Yes.
Steve Stine, everyone. So I guess to jump right in, I can lead off with my question. I guess, Steve, how did it, I guess just give us a little background on how it all started, or how, you got interested in guitar, and what age, and how this all...
Well, basically, I got my first guitar when I was 13. My parents bought me a Hondo. You guys remember Hondo? I had a Hondo Les Paul copy when I was 13. And that's when it started. But I grew up in a family. My dad and my mom both listened to a lot of music. So, I grew up listening to Led Zeppelin and Alice Cooper and the Beatles and Ted Nugent and all that kind of stuff from my dad. And then my mom would listen to a lot of old school country like Marty Robbins and, Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings, all that kind of stuff, Freddie Fender. And then she listened to a lot of doo-wop music, a lot of 50s music. So I was really into like Sha Na Na and all that kind of stuff. So those are all the things that I had. And then I went to my cousin's house. I must have been like 8 or 9. And I found out about Kiss. I saw the cover of Love Gun, and that was it. That was it. That's what I wanted to do.
Right.
And so I blame Ace Frehley for me not probably becoming a doctor or something like that. But,
Dr. Love.
Ace Frehley.
But that's so I got my guitar when I was 13, and I didn't take lessons. Well, I took lessons right away, and it didn't work out at all. My teacher and I didn't really see eye to eye. And so I just learned by watching other guitar players around town. There was only a couple of guys, and we were talking about a little earlier, learning by ear. I would just sit, and I remember like High and Dry was one of the big albums for me, where I would sit and I would try and figure out,
Great album.
Yeah,
Great
like
album.
different kinds of things like that, where I would try and listen to it and figure out what the riffs were. Blizzard of Oz was another one. They're just different things like that. A lot of Iron Maiden stuff, things like that, and that's kind of where it all started.
Yeah, those are great bands, and that's a lot. There's so many people. So I'm like 42, and there's like with an 8-year to 5-year to 10-year gap, it's like, even though Ace Frehley wasn't like, I'm not trying to piss anybody off, like virtuoso, he is the reason for so many people picking up and starting guitar. It's look at here. Hold on, Joe.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Right there. That's the man right there. See there?
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and bands like Kansas and Styx, and I loved all of that stuff. And
The good stuff.
yeah, and it wasn't just rock. I mean, I was attracted to metal with Anthrax and Slayer and all that kind of stuff, Metallica, Megadeth, all those things, Exodus. But I loved a lot of different styles of music. I mean, old school country, like I said, I always enjoyed a lot of different things like that. So it's just, for me in the early days, music wasn't about lyrics. Like I could listen to Stryper and Slayer in the same sitting, and it never occurred to me that they were talking about two different things, because I was always listening to the music. Mm-hmm. So I never cared what anybody was singing about. I never had any idea what lyrics were about. It was probably 15 years ago before I finally started realizing that there was meaning behind songs.
I know.
That's
Even
awesome.
Metallica, I love Metallica, but it's like I cannot sing a full song no matter. I just hear the lyrics, rhythmically going with the song. It's like I don't know.
Yeah.
That's so.
Yeah,
funny.
that's my bass player used to write the lyrics for our songs in our band, and I would hear the melody, I would hear what he was writing, but I really didn't pay attention to the things that he was really writing about. It wasn't until
Right.
years later when I started hearing the lyrics, I started going, "Man, I didn't know you. What are you talking about, man? These songs are old." And I'm like, "Well, I was so focused on the music at that time that listening
Right.
to the lyrics was kind of like just the back end." But
Right.
like,
Well, and I tell you, there's something really cool about that because, like, when I would teach people, even now, I always teach them. I always call it going deep, where like you can't get mesmerized by the lyrics and the melody. Like as guitar players, we need to be able to focus and go underneath all of that
Right.
and listen
Right.
to the drums and listen to the bass and listen to the guitar and figure out where this thing is. So even when you're on stage and somebody's singing, you're inadvertently listening to this back thing happening, and that's how you maintain where you are and you don't get lost. But as I got older, I realized that there's a real beauty, needless to say, in lyrics that I missed the first time around.
Yes.
So now it's really great to be able to go back, even modern music, but going back to old songs and listening to them with a completely different ear now. Being older and maybe a little wiser, I don't know, but it's a lot of fun. So even going back to songs where you listen to Iron Maiden and go, wow, some of that stuff was really epic. I just wasn't paying
Yeah.
attention at the time.
Yeah.
Me neither.
Well, I'll tell you what. So something you said kind of grabbed me. Age of 17. So you started teaching guitar at 17. So, like I said, I'm 42. And I can't even keep all the church modes memorized if I don't run them enough. So obviously you got something going, man, because at that time to be able to start teaching guitar at 17, you must have had a really good understanding of theory, because that's a whole discussion in itself, because some people are like, a lot of us guys, we kind of just like me, we just got the basic theory down and you can figure out what to do, but to be able to teach someone, I mean, I've had a few students, but it's like outside of, beginner to very intermediate, it's like, okay, I'll bring you up to speed for what I know for theory, but that's,
Right.
you
It's interesting because I have taught not just guitar, I've taught on multiple levels throughout my life. I've spent far more time teaching than I have doing anything else. I've played in bands and done all kinds of things like that. But the amount of hours I have spent teaching from, I saw somebody had asked if I've ever taught senior citizens. I've taught every age there is. I've taught disability. There's all kinds of different things. Like I was saying before, I was a Montessori instructor for 14 years in Montessori education, and I was a professor of music at North Dakota State University. So what I guess the gift, if you will, the blessing that I have from God is the availability of being able to listen to somebody that wants to learn how to play and then figure out a path to get them to where they want to go. And that's the hardest part about teaching, is not just opening up a book and going, well, turn to page 27 and that's what you got to do. You got to, because everybody's different and what everybody wants is completely different. And that's the trick is listening and then turning around and developing a plan that they can understand to get them to a level where they can feel good. But then you also got to try and keep them motivated, which is not always easy.
Well, you do a fantastic job, and that's what I was telling Joe and R2, and likewise, they noticed. I said, and I've taken lessons from multiple different instructors and bought lesson packs, but what happens is I've gotten on the internet, so I never even dealt with the internet until like 2014, and
Sure.
I was like, wow, I can really advance my playing here by the internet. But there'd be one little piece of information of something that I don't understand what one guy said, because he just skipped over that part, assuming everybody knows that, and I'm totally at a loss, So then you keep searching for a video and searching for a video, and then, when I came across your videos and your lessons, it was like you broke it down for me to where it makes sense to me. So that's
awesome.
Exactly what you were saying. It was like, okay, this is making sense now because, you got pentatonic, you got the 5 positions. How do you use them in each song?
Sure.
Just kind of like, I'll never forget how you said in one of those lessons, it's like a treadmill this way and this way. And I was like, oh, duh. It was like light bulb effect, and I was already playing for upwards of, 15 years at the time or whatever and covering songs and everything. But you cover songs and write songs and you find the right notes and you do this and that and play the cover songs. But then it's like you're not unlocked on the rest of it.
Right.
So.
Well, and I don't know how deep you want to get into all these things, but that's the thing, isn't it? Is needless to say, there's so much information out there that you could. I always tell people the guitar will win. We'll be dead before we ever figure this thing out because there's so much you could do, right?
Right.
But part of the trick is figuring out your plan. Like where do you want to go and what do you want to do? And half of that is trying to block out everybody else that you are either envious of or jealous of or you feel obligated to listen to. So, I have to learn this, or somebody said I'm supposed to do this. And then, I would get students that would come in all the time and they would know little bits of information, which I would always call clouds, like clouds in the sky. There's all these clouds out there, but nothing connects. They're all just floating along aimlessly. So people would have little bits of information, but there was no way they couldn't cohesively put it together in something that was real.
Right.
That's the trick is just building something that makes something sound musical and then figure out where you want to go from there. Right.
Absolutely. Andy Dion's got a question. He says, Steve, any students become famous or in famous bands? I'm assuming that you've taught, students. So
yeah, I don't know if you guys would know them, but there's a girl by the name of Shannon Kerfman. She plays with Kid Rock. She's Kid Rock's. She does the Sheryl Crow stuff. She's been touring with Kid Rock forever. She took lessons from me for many years, and then Johnny Lang, if you know who Johnny Lang is. Oh, yeah. Johnny took lessons for a while. Blind Joe, I don't know if you know who Blind Joe is. He was on The Voice. He took lessons. Just different people like that. Trying to think if there's anybody.
Did they reach out to you, or you just somehow coincidentally meet
them?
Well,
they were all local. They're
all local from North Dakota?
Yeah, because
wow.
Back in the day, I mean,
that's awesome.
Again, that's all you did, right? I mean, you only had that little small circuit to which you lived, and I taught everybody around because I'm from Fargo, so everybody from that area, I had just tons of students, and it wasn't until, I started branching out, doing this online thing that I started connecting with other players, and like Mike Inez from Alice in Chains, he just wound up in the last month buying one of my guitar courses for his niece, and got a hold of me, and he was like, "Wow, I really love it." And
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool,
so and
Very
the more
cool.
it's a great job. I mean, I'm very blessed to be able to help people.
Well, I mean, you're living the dream, but in the same sense, I'm like, Steve's living the dream, but I don't know theory enough to do that. I can't teach like that, so it's like, my hat's off to you, man. That's a lot. That's a lot. And you do.
And here's what I'd say to that, though, is that one thing back in the day when I was first trying to get this thing started, and I would hire or potentially hire out to bring on talent to do some video work for me. And the first thing everybody always says to me is, "Well, I don't know any theory." And then I would say to them, "That's why I would like to hire you, because if you wanted to do theory, I already do theory. I already have courses on music theory." What people often want is to pick your brain. They don't necessarily want theory as much as they want to know how you do what you do to make the sounds that you do. Like if you could sit down with Eddie Van Halen, he would probably tell you he doesn't really understand anything about theory. But if you could understand just a couple of the wires that connect in his head, you'd go,
that's the
okay,
school we
this
came
is
from.
really
That's the
cool. Like I
trick.
could use that. Well, that's part of the goal for me with social media, with videos like on YouTube, is you don't necessarily always have to make a 45 or an hour long video. It's fine if you do, but sometimes you just need to throw little pieces of meat out there that have some element of thought that somebody might watch and go, I never thought of that before. Like, I've never thought about doing that before.
Right.
And all of a sudden everything changes, you know? And it might be a theoretical concept, but it might just be a movement. Like, I always tell people one of the simplest things, and again, I don't want to bore anybody with this, but
No.
playing, let's say, I remember when I was younger and I was watching a guy play, right? And I had been learning my scales and stuff, you know, all whatever it is, right? And what he would do in his playing is he would play, and here's what I'm getting to is slides. I would slide as purpose. I would slide, or I'd slide to another position, right? Okay. What he would do is he would play a note. He'd play like that.
Nice.
And I had never really thought about that before. And I went home that night and I was like, okay, this is cool. You know, I could just take my pentatonic. And it sounded like a singer, right? You do this. You know, you can make cool patterns and things like that, but it doesn't sound like a singer. When you go,
feel right there. Sing it.
It begins to sound more like somebody is singing, you see?
Right.
And that was an epiphany for me. And it wasn't a big theoretical concept or, you know, some revolutionary thing. It was just this small idea. It's like learning half-step bends or learning how to do, you know, like that kind of stuff. Like Gary Moore would do these. And they would sound really, really nice, you know, as opposed to... And there's nothing wrong with that at all. But if I can contrast that with that idea, it begins to sound a little more musical, you see?
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Now, you hit it right on the money when you're talking about the comparison to singers. When I first started playing guitar, a good friend of mine, his older brother had an acoustic guitar, and he played Van Halen note for note exactly to the T on an acoustic guitar.
Wow.
And that inspired me to play. And I remember he said something about vibratos and bending a note. And he said, you know, you don't hear a singer sing a stale note and not doing a bend or a vibrato in the voice. Same thing with a guitar. So at that age, at the age of like 16, I kind of understood that, because when you hear your favorite singers, at that time you start hearing like Ronnie James Dio, for example, and you would hear his vibrato and the way he would sing things in melodic, you would have to almost think of it almost as a guitar player doing the same thing as his vocals.
Right.
So I was like, that's phenomenal.
Right. Well, and that's one of the first things I like to touch on with people when they first start learning how to play scales and things like that, usually like pentatonic. You know, I teach, if you guys have ever seen like any of my stuff where I talk about meandering and stuff like that, they're great little tools to start learning how to move across your fretboard and things. But the musicality comes from what I've always referred to as vocal tools, which are hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, bends, and vibrato. Those are the 5 things that you really need to learn to master and manipulate, because that's what turns a scale into music. Now, there's melody and there's phrasing and there's a million other things on top of this. But just understanding that, like when I used to jam with students and, you know, they'd be kind of nervous or whatever, and we'd be playing and they'd be jamming and they'd go for a bend and they wouldn't get it, right? And it sounded not as pleasant as you'd like it to. They'd get really nervous, and then they'd stop even trying the bend, because they'd freeze up and, oh my God, I can't do that again, right?
Right.
Well, that's that control and that comfort zone that you really have to get to, is when you're doing things on the guitar. It's not like we all make mistakes, every one of us. But if you're skilled enough with it, you just move on. Like you don't stress about it. You just move on. But then you might also take a note and go, boy, I really should go back and work on that a little bit. So you think about something like a bend. Like a bend has a tab. Like a bend wants a vibrato oftentimes. So the style of vibrato that you give that bend leads it to whatever's coming next. And whether it's a nice wide vibrato or a real subtle one, or you need something a bit.
Yeah. I love bends and vibratos.
Yeah, that's it, man. I mean, that's the thing is you learn how to take all those. You know, you do like, where you do multiple bends at the same time.
Yeah.
You know? That's kind of where the music is. So when you take somebody and they're learning how to play, and again, well, we can get into jam tracks too, but if you find the right jam track, because one thing I would say to people too is don't just try and find 786 different jam tracks and then try and jam over them and have them all sound exactly the same.
Right.
Well, that's what happens, right? Is we just play and everything sounds exactly the same when we play. Well, the goal is to grab a jam track that you really like, fits the key that you're trying to practice in, fits the groove, fits the tempo, it feels good, and you get in there and you just start trying to... You know, whatever it might be, you start kind of exploring things as opposed to just... You know what I mean? Kind of doing that sort of thing.
Totally get it. Because the one problem I ran into was when I learned the church modes. And again, I told you too, I think in the green room, I even told you, I was like, if I don't constantly stay up on the 7 church modes, you kind of start losing a little bit. So I was doing these shreds, and I'm just running the scale. But I'll just repeat, like, you know, the 6th and 5th string and something twice and shred through it and go from, you know, Dorian to Phrygian, just slam and slam and slam. And it gets so robotic. So I was like, oh, my God, I got to break this somehow. So I was like, so now it's just like jump into pentatonic, back to the 3-note per string mode. And I'm like, somehow, because I find the modes so much harder to get away from being like, for me, like a pentatonic is easier to do that singing thing.
Sure.
You know, than the feel, than every time I go to the mode, it's just straight up shred, you know?
Well, you know, and I'll give you a couple of things since you're talking about that. So one thing is that obviously what the modes supply you with that, or diatonic in general, that pentatonic does not have is the half step, right? There's magic in that sound, right? Of those half steps. Like if I was playing in Dorian here. Right? But the other thing is when you get caught in doing scalular motion, there's two things which really are kind of the same thing, but it's just the way you think about it. One thing is you try and learn to play intervallically. Force yourself to skip strings or to skip notes, right? So, and all of a sudden you got more of a useful melody.
Yeah.
Instead of playing all the notes in the scale. And...
Yeah, if you can learn to shake it up a little bit, or you learn to add arpeggios. And it might be just a standard arpeggio, and it doesn't have to be fast. It doesn't have to be a sweep, but you might take something, you know, like a major 7th, like the major 7th add 9. So I've got my 3-note per string stuff sitting there. But if you just do something real simple, maybe not even the whole thing, maybe just half.
Right. Slide up that whole tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. That really makes a difference, and it matters for sure, because all of a sudden, exactly what you said. Every video, I was just pounding these modes, and I was like, oh my God, I need to stop doing that. So, But it was great practice for memorizing the modes.
Oh, for sure.
And,
Well, and there's, I mean, that's the thing is each player has to figure out where they exist in what you need, right? What's going to get you to the next level, whatever that is, whether it's technique, whether it's theory, whether it's learning songs. Like, you wouldn't believe how many people I've met that study guitar, but they really don't know how to play any songs. I'm like, all the guys I grew up listening to, that's how everybody learned how to play, was you play songs, you know, and then you take those songs and you figure out and then that turns into something that's more Nuno Betancourt or something like that. But by those so
your guys' ears are so much better than there's so many more. I shouldn't say more because of social media. It's what sucks and it's still great is like there's people like me, and then you see a 10-year-old kid shredding, Yngwie, and then it's like, well, now the social media we can see the 1% of the population, but in the same sense, it's like everyone has such fast go to the video, go to the tab, see the hand position. People are missing out somewhat on the ear training, and learning things by ear. And
right. Well, and if you're, and again, I'm not being negative to anybody.
Right.
If you're happy with what you're doing on the guitar, then everything's working for you. But it happens all too often that people are so concerned with speed, and speed is important. It's an element of dynamic and energy that if you don't have it, you're lacking in that element.
Right.
But we spend so much time practicing certain techniques and things that we don't really learn how to write songs, or we don't really learn how instrumentation works. Like a bass part doesn't necessarily do the exact same thing as a guitar part unless you're Black Sabbath, right? I mean, there's different things that can happen with that stuff. So, or learning how to improvise. Learning how to improvise takes time. You've got to learn to listen and respond to what you're playing over. Different things like that.
Yeah, having the right chemistry and be able, because anything that can go wrong live will go wrong at some point. I know that. I've played live for 20 years. I know anything that can go wrong, it will. Just give it time.
No, Steve, sorry to interrupt you, man. I want to ask you about when you said about speed. Would it be, how can I put this? There's a lot of individuals that they can play a lot of notes real fast, but if you learn to play those notes real fast in the bad way,
that's bad.
And you build those habits. Well, I don't mean to be negative. I'm just saying, if you're learning sweep picking or a scale and you're doing it real fast, but if you're doing it the wrong way, and those habits stay with you.
Yep.
Do you recommend a lot of your students to build the speed slowly and then progress, with time to get those notes right?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is when you're playing, there's a million things going on in here, but the audience doesn't experience any of that.
Yeah.
They just experience the outcome, right? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, our ability, our ego, is based off the response we get from our relatives or immediate friends, or now we've got social media, so we have that. And what I've always tried to tell people is don't get caught up in the ego thing. You can tell whether you really did it right. Like, you can tell whether you just played something and it was effective, or if you were pretending. I can go on stage and play on Godly Loud and pretend half the evening and nobody would ever know, because everything's so freaking loud, and it's the bar and there's a bunch of noise and you can't tell, you know what I mean? Yeah. Where if you get hired, for instance, I get hired to do a lot of recording stuff. So I have to send my solos to a producer or whoever it might be, and then they'll slot it into the song and they'll dissect it all. And if they don't like it, they'll very much tell you that it sucked. Right? I mean, they'll be very honest with you, because you're getting paid, but they're getting paid more for whatever artist it is that you've been hired to do work for. And so I've always said, don't fake it. Like, nothing about guitar should be faked. You should really sit down and try and work on it. Now, there are certain people that just have an innate ability to be able to do things faster and cleaner. It just makes sense in their in their body, right? Where other people, it takes a while to really develop that. But regardless, I agree with you completely. You need to sit and practice it over and over and over to develop that thing. You know, like right now, you can hear I've got some delay and reverb on here because it sounds good and it feels good to me right now, right?
Yeah.
But if I was doing a recording or something like that, I can't put any of that stuff on there. That's got to be added in post. So when I play it, it's all got to be right the first or second or fifth take, whatever it is, right? Yeah, I pretend I'm late. See, that's
And Craig, what's up, Craig?
Oh boy.
yeah, and
Craig's
that
an awesome player.
is like for me with the students, whether they were in-person students or virtual students. I just want people to be happy with what they're doing. It doesn't matter if they're playing blues or rock or slow or fast or pentatonic or diatonic. You know, stay away from, unless the competition is motivating you in a positive way, which more often than not it does not. It winds up making people really frustrated. You got to enjoy it. Like I just before COVID hit, this was last fall. My daughter and my wife, both my daughters and my wife and I went to this street fair thing, and they were selling food and clothes and whatever. And there was two guys playing guitar and singing. And I can honestly say that they weren't the elite guitar players, and they weren't the elite singers. But they were having fun, and people were having fun listening to them, and they were getting paid, and they were playing, and all is right with the world. I mean, does it matter? Does the rest of it really matter?
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
no.
I don't think so. I don't need to walk up to them and go, you should have tried to pick. That'd
You didn't
be
play that quite
impossible
right.
to do. And it's pointless because they could look at me and go, yeah, but you can't sing. And they're right.
Right.
You know what I mean? So sometimes, like with my daughter, she's 19. She grew up in a world of Ed Sheeran and Taylor Swift and all these things where songwriting was a big deal to her. It wasn't how fast you could play guitar. You know, she plays some guitar, but her guitar supports her voice and her writing. It isn't an instrument that she just wants to learn how, because we grew up with the Van Halens and the Malmsteens and all that stuff. So it was like, Jesus, I got to put in 14 hours a day how to do this, right? She didn't grow up with that. That wasn't really her thing. So does that make her any less of a musician than me? No, it just makes us different than each other.
Different. Exactly. That's exactly right. And I'll tell you, here's one thing and tell me, guys, between the three of you and anybody in the chat too, if sometimes I have, through the years when I've seen a video or studied it, whether it's a book or video, there's certain things that I don't mean to go against the grain here, but they're like, work it so slow so you have it right, okay? And I'm like, ting, ting, ting. Let's just use a sweep, for example. Or even, certain speed picking. At some point, you gotta dig in and you gotta push it to that next level. So I was like, sometimes going too slow to try to get everything picture perfect also held me back a little bit. I don't know if that's probably wrong to a degree, but sometimes I would push. It's like you gotta try to, even if you fail a little bit while you're pushing, you gotta push through because I'll be here for a decade trying to get this smooth at this. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, and there's a thing I've always called the dead zone, which is you can play something at, let's say, 126 beats per minute, and then you can play that same thing at 160 beats per minute.
Right.
Because fluidity takes over. It's like being chased by a big dog that's going to bite your leg, right? And you're going faster than you ever went in your entire life. You know what I mean? But if that space between 130 and 160, that's awful.
Yeah.
Because you can't go fast enough to fly,
right?
And you can't go slow enough to walk. You have to do this weird little jog in the center, and sometimes that's where a lot of the work is kind of in that in between space.
Yeah. Well, I'll say
there was a guy that years ago. Oh God, this was years and years ago. Probably in the I'd say late '90s. There was a band I would go watch. Great live band, and it was he would also give lessons and all that stuff. So I was like, wow, I want to go see him play live. And I would go watched their live show. It was really good, really good. And then I found out I moved to another state, and he was really kind. He said, if you can come back here sometime, man, I'll give you a free lesson, and I'll treat you to lunch and all that. Really, really nice guy. I said, yeah, cool, man. So I drove, and for the free lesson, I was off one particular day. I said, yeah, man, I'll take you up on that lesson if that's cool. He said, yeah, that's fine. And it was him and a few other guys that had they were renting this building in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina, and they had they would give lessons. It was like an old house, I guess, but they turned it into their little guitar teaching place or whatever, house. And so I got there, and we went and got lunch and come back, and he goes, all right, you ready for your lesson? I was like, yeah. And he was just showing me like what you do, Steve, with some of your lessons with the scales and learning how to do all that stuff, connecting. And I remember it was like he was just a regular dude when I got there, and then we was eating lunch. But when we got into the little room, he's like the hat turned, and he came the instructor, right? And I'm sitting there going, hey, man, I'm like, whatever. And I didn't notice it until I said this. He starts, he goes, are you tuned up? You ready? I was like, yeah, man, I'm tuned up, And he was really good at that middle, like you said, that kind of mediocre speed, kind of like a Eric Johnson type kind of deal, doing that, and I was like, man. And I'm sitting there, and I see him do that, and he's getting warmed up. Excuse me. So I'm just sitting there going, holy crap, and to me I was like, wow. And so he starts going over some scales, and I said, hey, wait a minute, can you show me some like Cliffs of Dover, man? When I said that, he goes, I'm not here to teach you licks. I'm here to teach you other stuff, And I was like, oh, my bad, But
Right.
But he's like, you talking about this? And at the end of the lesson, he was like, did you mean this? And he does that kind of opening thing, and I was like, holy crap! And he made it look so easy, and that's something I was like, man, how in the world? And
and that's what everybody is striving for. Like I said, it isn't about this or this or this. It's about when you play, it sounds real. I've always just used the word authentic because what else do you call it, right? I mean, you've got B.B. King, and then you have Yngwie Malmsteen, and they couldn't be more different from each other. But like them or not, they're both authentic at what they do. And that's kind of the trick is trying to figure out how to be authentic. And in saying that, I'm kind of being a hypocrite because every day, I mean, there's not a day that goes by I'm not looking for new material. I'm always looking for something new to add in because, first of all, I teach, and second of all, I need to keep going. I need new stuff. I've just found it's very easy to find something, and I can listen to something in a 10-second clip out of a song and go, that's what I need. Or watch a video and go, oh, I got to learn what that is. And
keeps it fresh.
Yeah, and that's right. And it keeps me motivated, and it keeps me fresh in my playing. But that's the trick is trying to figure out how to not take on too much stuff and find that authentic place. So when you play, it sounds real, because you can tell, like you can always, like this is the analogy that I use. When I used to work at the music store, you could tell when somebody would come in and sit at the piano and tinker, and then you'd keep doing your work. And every once in a while, somebody would come in and sit down, and you'd feel the hair on the back of your neck stand up, and you just want to listen because it was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, that's real. That's
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's yeah. I see that a lot here on YouTube as well.
Yeah, you're right.
I guess I just want to make a quick announcement too. I totally agree. Everybody, we got 42 watching right now. We have a special guest honor, Steve Stine guitar. Everyone, he is a fantastic instructor, guitar instructor, teacher, great player. If you haven't checked him out, I have links in the description. I mean, I personally, I went through Guitar Zoom. I bought lessons for, last few years. And some of his courses I haven't even completed yet just because of other things I had going.
Sure.
But they're just fantastic. And he breaks it down in a way that can really help you out. So everyone, make sure in your channel, your YouTube channel, Steve, the amount of lessons you have on there, that's like priceless. So everybody, make sure you check them out. Subscribe to him.
I appreciate
he's all over in Guitar Zoom and Facebook. Everywhere I look, I see Steve. So you guys should be able to definitely Check out some of his material. Great teacher. For me, he was one of I think 4 or 5. And even though I was spending a pretty good amount of money per package, I would tell my wife, I'm like, you know what? I bought this package. I'm not even going to say the name. And I'm like, I have to know this to know what he's talking about. And he loses me. This guy's pretty good, but he's okay. And then that's okay. Now I'm learning the cage system, and that's great. But then the infusion is like, this is really what I'm focused on now. And then I saw some packages Steve had, like, even just, learning the pentatonic, the 5 positions pentatonic. It's a pain in the ass to learn the 5 positions. But if you learn those 5, everything's built off of them, basically. Yeah. And he explains things very well. So I just wanted to get that out there. Oh, yeah.
And the thing is too, whether you're getting purchased stuff or whether you're getting free stuff off YouTube or whether it's from me or whether it's from somebody else, kind of the trick is just to find, and I know it's not always easy. So saying this is easy, but actually doing it isn't. But it's finding something that fits in your wheelhouse, right? Where you are right now, not necessarily where you're going to be a year from now, which is great. Bookmark that and save it. But something that can change your world right here. Something that again, don't always look for the epic thing that we tend to always think about. Sometimes it's not that. Sometimes it's just a small little idea that if you really sit and practice it, it really is epic because you'll never play the same way again. You'll add this new thing in, and then you grab another little thing, and it might just be one video. Whether it's me or whether it's 24 other wonderful guitar players out there. You just find something that you like and you sit and you work through it and develop it and implant it into your playing.
Exactly. And that was just the thing is I could connect with, even though they're pre-recorded lessons, I could, like what you were saying in terms for me, I could understand. It's like, you just look and look and look. It's like, no, I just want to know how this connects. Like, what happens when you go to, when you started on the A string, what happens, And it was like, oh, okay, so.
Well, let's be honest. Isn't that the problem with YouTube, right?
That is the problem.
So it's like, where do I even begin or what do I need?
That is the problem.
Yeah. And before I even started getting into this guitar course thing, like before it was even an idea in my head, the problem is that people would grab something, but there was no beginning or end to that middle, right? It was just something that they would grab, and then they didn't understand how to get to that point or where to go from that point, which is where the guitar courses first started coming from was, okay, well, let's sit and let me give you 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 or 8 or 10 hours of stuff that explains chronologically, if you're here, what to do to get here.
And I can say, this is for me, but if anyone's remotely like me, I can say, let's just call it, after 15 years of playing, I've been playing, I don't know, 24, 25, I don't know, somewhere, but after 15 years of playing, and I could cover any Metallica song, anything I wanted to, I could learn it and cover it, and I wrote 3 albums, blah, 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 but I mean, I basically, at 15 years, I went, the first 10 years I learned how to play guitar, I could have probably did in a year if I would have had the right lessons.
Sure.
The right lesson package. So then what I did at 15 years was I kept grabbing YouTube videos like Steve's saying, and there was bits and pieces. Okay, I just learned how to do this, but down here and up, or up here, down here, I got nothing. So I was like, I need to start completely over, back to the building blocks. I went right back to, let's learn the intervals. Let's go right back to the basics. Start. If you don't know your intervals, that's the first thing. The intervals are hard because as you shift and see them, I mean, you're like, what? And then all of a sudden you have epiphany and realize if the 5th is here, it's always the 5th and blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
So I went completely back to the beginning after, 15 years of playing. And then once the lessons started continuing, all of a sudden I was like, this is awesome. It actually helped.
Right.
So,
yeah. I think it's important to try and kind of coexist in 2 different worlds. If you're like me, you grew up playing songs, and then I would learn all these different things, but when it came time to jam, I couldn't use any of it. because
Right.
I didn't understand how to put it together. I could play songs, but I couldn't improvise. And, the more you get out in the real world, the more you start realizing that it's your ability to comp and improvise that gets you gigs,
Sure.
and no doubt the ability to memorize things quickly and efficiently and that sort of thing too. But, you've got to learn how to be creative as well. There's a when you play songs, you don't, there's a technical aspect, but there's not as much of a creative aspect because the creativity is already done for you, where learning how to write songs, learning how to improvise, that sort of thing. I think that stuff just takes it. Both of those things I think are valid that people should spend time in,
Absolutely. And just like one thing that really stuck out in my head versus the treadmill effect of the guitar, like I said, once you learn the 5 positions, it just changes within the key. But then it was like major or minor, like pentatonic, minor, starting with your index. You want to go to major, you're starting with your pinky.
Well, look,
I mean, to move,
like this is an example, like
Oh, solo.
right? You shook me all night long, right?
Yep.
So when I was a kid, I learned how to play that, but it never made sense to me that he's in G minor pentatonic, right? So the whole thing's in G minor pentatonic until this, and he goes here, and I was learning my positions, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense to me because that doesn't fit in G minor pentatonic. Well, he's transitioning to G major pentatonic at that point. And then those bluesy. So it was that kind of stuff that later on I started realizing that and went, okay, so maybe I won't play, if I'm jamming or something, maybe I won't do that solo, but I can totally remember that if I'm in minor pentatonic and I do this and I move up again, now I'm up here, it's just like, of like a Whole Lot of Love, right? Same idea. So like a lot of those players would do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think a lot of us use that too. I mean, I don't know, Joe, what you do or R2, but
Yeah.
I basically, a lot of times I stay within like probably a 3-box range a lot of time.
But yeah, it's just those little tricks like that you learn and go, okay, so, maybe I won't play that exact solo or whatever, but at least it gives me a platform to jump from. So if I was in A and I just went up, well, now I'm in major. So now I can do.
You know how when you're learning along the way, sometimes you'll come up with your own terms so you can kind of remember, before you really know what it actually is. And for what you're doing right there, I always called that box extensions. That's what I always called it. I mean, I just just helped me learn. I was like, okay, there's an extension from that box. You can go up so far and you can come back down and you can come up here. And I was like, oh, and then I started to understand how to put all that to kind of link it up.
Well, and you think about it, you have this bit of information and there's 300 different ways to look at it.
Right.
And that's kind of the trick is sometimes you have to talk about, like people will go, how many videos can you make on whatever? Well, one of them is going to stick with somebody and one of them is going to stick with somebody else.
That's right.
If you just never know exactly what you're talking about.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, there's so many ways to approach it. It's funny because sometimes you'll get somebody and I'll say, okay, so let's just find E major pentatonic, right? And then they're trying to surf for it instead of thinking, well, E major pentatonic is C sharp minor pentatonic, right? And then just finding that position, and then they'll go, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Right. It's so easy. It's hard.
It's hard. Right here, but you don't realize that it's there.
Right. It's so easy. It's hard. That's what I always said. It's so.
I got a quick question, David, if you don't mind.
Yes, sir.
I've been sitting here. I've been quiet. I ain't said nothing.
Yeah, man.
Y'all didn't take up all the questions.
Jeez, okay, I'm muting my mic.
I'm just kidding, man. No, I was wanting to know what got you into the Gym Series guitars. What got you into that?
When I was 17, I graduated in 1988, and I think it was 87 when the Gems came out. It was 87 or 88, one of the two. And when they came out, I really had no direct connection to Steve Vai and the Ibanez Jam and things like that. Growing up in Fargo, you didn't have a lot of choices with guitars, and I grew up in a trailer court. We had no money. So, I had my Hondo, and then I wound up having like a Harmony guitar and whatever. Well, I was going to college, and I got my student loan check. And being in the Midwest here, you tend to deal with more Strats and Les Pauls and things like that. And Ibanez was relatively unknown to me as far as playing them. I saw them in the magazines all the time, but I'd never played one. Well, they got in 2 gems at one of the local guitar stores. And a buddy of mine and I decided we would buy them, and then we were going to go conquer the world, which we never did. I went to college and that was it. But he bought the green one, which is the valued one.
Right.
And I bought the pink one.
Awesome.
And again, because I never had any money, I bought it with my student loan money. It was years before I ever wound up buying another guitar because, back in the day, you had an amp and you had a guitar, and that's what you used for playing. Maybe you had another one for tuning down or something like that. But that's all I had. And then it was in the early 90s that I wound up getting turned on to EMG pickups. And and that changed my whole world. And so now I remember talking to the guys at EMG. I talked to Tommy over at EMG, and he goes, "Man, we'd love to endorse you, but you already have EMGs in every one of your guitars." I said, "I don't want anything from you. I just want to be part of the family." Like that. I've been playing their stuff for so long. Ivan has the same thing. I've been playing their stuff for so long. It just felt good to be part of what they're doing.
What is your combination, if you don't mind me asking? Is it 81 SA 85?
85 or 89. I prefer an 89, but it depends on...
Because you can split the coil, right? And
I got the 85.
And I've talked to Tommy about that too, because I swear that the 89 sounds different than the 85, even though it's supposed to be an 85.
I'm sure it does.
Tommy says it does. So I prefer the 89, but then what I do is the push-pull is put on the volume, and I strip the tone control out. So none of my guitars have tone controls that have EMG pickups. What I do is I put in what's called an SPC control.
Yes.
And the SPC control was originally intended to be a single. It was to take a single coil and turn it into a humbucker.
Kind of like the David Gilmour signature.
That's exactly right. That's right. So what I did was I took the SPC and used it as a safety net, because at that point I was playing in bands and things like that, and you'd get up and play. Maybe you're doing a 3-band show, right? And you're using one rig, so everybody's using the same guitar rig. And I would get up and I'd start playing, and maybe there wasn't enough gain or something like that through the amp. So what I could do is I could turn this SPC control up, and it would give me a gain boost.
Nice.
Or the other reason I would use it is if you're playing on stage and you're running around and whatever, and all of a sudden it's time to solo, and my gear is 30 feet away from me. I'm not near my pedal board, but I'm going to do this solo, and maybe I need a little more safety, right? So I can bump that up, and all of a sudden I get a little more gain off of that, and
That's awesome.
I don't have to run back to my solo.
I totally understand your language, because I've been playing EMG pickups, believe it or not, since 1989. So,
oh, nice.
My
99 here.
My first pickups were EMG SA single coils. So I wanted to be kind of like David Gilmour at the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I would switch between the newer ones, obviously, as you know, come with the clip locks, or I'm sorry, not the clip locks, the interchangeable the pickups. And,
much easier.
You're much easier to you can try an 85 in the bridge, or an 81, or an SA, or an S. There's different types. So yeah, when you said 89, I can see the tonal differences that you're going to try to do with the push pull and removing the tone knob. I have one guitar that has the tone knob with the EMGs, and then most of my guitars with EMGs have no tone knobs. Which is kind of like a straightforward. It has a different kind of sound, so I can see what you're achieving there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because if I think about my life pre-EMG, I only had the Gem and a couple of cheap guitars, and so tone control wasn't something that I really explored because I had this old Yamaha 212 amp, and it was a piece of junk, and then I wound up getting this Randall which was okay. But again, I never had anything that was truly dynamic like a Marshall or something when I was a kid. So tone control wasn't something that I really messed with. So
you just turn it all the way up and then
yeah. And so removing the tone control was never an issue. Now I have some guitars that I don't have EMG pickups in that I like to explore, like some of my Paul Reed Smith guitars and things like that. But I wouldn't take them out live. They just, this is where my comfort zone is. And it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a gem per se, but I really prefer these prestige style necks that are, 17 to 19 millimeter that are really thin.
Yeah.
And Ibanez still makes those on a number of their models. So, I own Axions and I own different Ibanez guitars just because I love them. But when I go on stage, it just has to be about comfort. Like I don't want to fight. I'm 5'2". I don't want to fight anything.
Oh man!
But I don't want to fight. I want comfort. I want when I play through the amp,
Yes.
I know what it's going to sound like. I know what it's going to feel like, and I can play comfortably and do my thing.
it's your comfort zone.
not
You're familiar
fighting.
with it. Yeah.
So I played my Gibson Les Paul custom for 20 years. That's what everyone loves, Gibson. I love Gibson, but I'm like, man, that hurts your back after 4 hours. Your
right.
knees, your back, like your shoulder. It's like,
Yeah, and for me, everything's it's top. It's offset in terms of heaviness. The toggle switch is way up here. How in the hell am I going to get way up here to hit the toggle switch? I mean, here I hit it with my pinky all the time, right?
Right,
When I play, I do. I mean, I almost to the point where people think I have a tick because I my toggle switch so much when I play. But that's the way I play, and so messing with the volume and the toggle switch are where all of my tone kind of comes from, because that's the fun of, like, even with the EMGs. You can still get a nice twangy.
oh hell yeah! It's
Give it
beautiful.
up. Give it up for Steve
EMGs are-
Stine.
Yeah,
hell yeah, Steve Stine, everybody. And I
But
even
there's a
had
lot of variance in the tone, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's kind of the fun of it is, we think of EMG and it's just Metallica or
Right.
something. And that's where I was.
right.
But over the years, I remember going in the studio and doing some work with a guy once doing this stuff that was kind of Beatles-esque. And I walked in with an Ibanez Gem with EMGs because that's what I owned. I didn't own 7 guitars.
Right.
So this producer's looking at me going, okay. And then when we got done, he's like, I've never heard EMGs sound like that before. I was like, yeah, that's
Because you know how to pull it out. You know what to do as
Your
far
tone.
as to get the tone out of it. Because that's one thing I realized and love about EMGs is consistency. You always know. For me, it's my comfort zone. I've been playing EMGs for so long that if you were to hand me a guitar with EMGs, it's home to me.
Yeah,
now,
right.
when it comes to passive pickups, there's different variances of how it's going to sound. Is the low end going to sound muddy and the high end too harsh, or where I know where to go to an amp? If you gave me a guitar, if I were to go over to David's house and play that EMG custom with the 81 and 85s,
Yes,
I know
85.
where I would need to go, the EQ and the amp setting to play what I want my comfort zone,
Right.
tone knobs and what to do. But
Right.
yeah,
I totally agree with you. I mean, people ask me if I've tried other pickups, and of course I've played all kinds of pickups, and Fishman makes some really amazing stuff. But when it comes down to it, I know, and it's not just the versatility, which again people get wrong with EMG. Because of my experience with having minimal gear, you had to make the sounds with your fingers, and you had to make the sounds with your volume and your toggle switch, right?
Oh yeah,
That's how you
tones
make
in your
the sounds.
fingers.
absolutely.
Because you didn't have anything else. When I try other pickups, like let's say Fishman, which I think Fishman is doing amazing stuff right now, but there's a compressed kind of roundedness to the EMG. I've always called it the anthrax tone. Like when you turn it up and you start doing this, there's an anthrax tone to it where it's just kind of rounded. It's not fuzzy. It's just round.
Yeah.
And
Right.
for me, even the amps that I use, that's what I'm looking for, is to accentuate that kind of roundness on the distortion, so it's not fuzzy.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up liking is that sound. So it's very
Same
easy
here.
to get those.
That's awesome. Like I even put different. I'm assuming everybody. Maybe I'm wrong on it, but like I bought the Zach Wild package where the pots. I took the pots out with the 81, 85. I suppose you have to, right? But I have the I have the 81, 85 in the neck, and then
because if you're using you got to use the
to be active.
The proper volume of toe knobs for active and passive.
That is correct. Yeah.
Completely, different.
So,
impedance.
not to cut anybody off, that's an absolutely fantastic discussion, and we could definitely. I want to get into some of that more.
We can talk for hours.
It's 10:05 right now. I just want to kind of say hi to a few people in the chat, and then again, this is we have let's slam out trivia right now because then after that we have guess that riff, and Steve is gracious enough to be part of that, and so I want to keep it moving. So I don't think I missed anybody's questions. If I did, just retag me, Steve Stine, R2 or Joe, and somebody will pick up your question. If I did, I apologize. New people in the chat: Bo Zeke, Guitar Meets Science, Metalhead Hippie. Let's see, who else did I miss? Sorry if I missed anybody. Andy. Nelson Rodriguez, and Wolverine. Hey, Wolverine, long time. Edwin Crane, what's up, brother? So I think as soon as R2 gets back, we'll start the trivia. Edwin's got to bail. All right, Edwin, get some sleep, brother. And we're gonna do trivia. Guess that riff. We got pick 3, and hey, Sean Aaron, how's it going, man? Welcome. We got Steve Stine from Steve Stine Guitar on. You've seen the thumbnail. I put it all over. Steve Stine is an amazing guitar player, amazing teacher. One of my favorite guitar teachers I take lessons from. Kelly, yo, hey now.
Hey now.
Zach Thong, Jack the Rabbit. Jack the Rabbit, you better, dude, stick around. You better stick around, man. You get...
Hey, Jack, what's up, man?
Just telling you, Jack. Stick around, brother. Great Vanzini, how you doing, my friend? Great Vanzini. We got the one, the only Mr. Steve Stine, the Dakota Destroyer on guitar.
That's great.
The master.
He unlocked a mystery.
Here's what I got to say about Steve, and I'm not just blowing smoke. I am just telling anybody and everybody that's watching. If you're like me at all, there's just so many teachers out there, and I'm not going to even say their names because I don't want to give them props that they leave out so much. It's like, all I know how to do is exactly what you just showed me. This, that's it. That's it. Like, I know nothing. Like, I don't know where I came from, why I'm there. I don't like, so, I mean... Steve has the total package. He has theory for life. I evaluated it. I looked at it. I probably missed the sale. It was like 21-hour sale. I told my wife I got to buy it. And then I had an injury, a boating injury. I had a very bad boating injury where I cut my leg down to the bone. And I'm still going to get it because it's like, man. It goes back to the very beginning of theory all the way through, and you have it for life. It is so entailed, and I looked at every description. I'm like, yep. So I can basically start here, but I'm still going to start at the very beginning, just in case I miss something. So, and take advantage of at Steve Stine Guitar Lessons or Steve Stine Guitar YouTube channel. He's got 500,000 subscribers almost. Make sure you subscribe to him. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you support him. He has thousands and thousands of dollars worth of free videos, lesson videos for you guys to watch. He's on Guitar Zoom community. Follow him on Facebook. He's all over Facebook. He's on Instagram. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, a great human being, and a wonderful teacher. So
I appreciate that.
With that, yeah, you bet, buddy.
Agreed.
And it is agreed. Like Steve, I mean, it's so hard to find a good teacher. I used to take a 12-pack of beer every Thursday night. That was my payment. Drive 24 miles, drag a freaking half stack up the stairs of this rickety, shitty two-story apartment.
Like this thing right here?
And it was not that nice, but it was that size. He'd crack his beer. I'd say, here's your 12-pack. He like, This song's called Slut. Dun, 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 dun. So all night I work on like dun 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 dun. He's like, beer night, beer time. I'm like, see you next Thursday, asshole.
Bring more beer.
Other than the COVID stuff that's going on and all that sort of thing, we live in amazing times.
Yeah, we do.
Musicians. With the availability to do this, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And all the new technology that's out there. I mean, videos people can watch, all that sort of thing. But, you look at like today I was doing a video for the Spark amp for Positive Grid. But just all this stuff that's out there that, where you don't have to carry 2 412 3 flights of steps anymore. There's all this stuff out there that's just amazing. And it sounds great. And, like I said, at least 2 of us are 50 now. I don't want to be crap around anymore.
He didn't come out and help either. And that head is heavier than the whole cab just about with the 2 transformers in it. You're like, got my beer? I'm like, yeah. It's like, okay, so now I'll practice for 8 months just to play rhythm for your ass. And
This brought to you in part by Budweiser.
he's like, you know what? If I say play E, you know what I mean, right? I'm like, how do I know what you mean? Like, I'm here for a lesson, man. I was like, 18, 19, 20. So he's like, the payment was a 12-pack of beer a week. He was 24 miles away. And I'm telling you, that stairway was like, whew, no.
Yeah.
No more.
You're giving me flashbacks, man. Because to bring this thing down here a while ago back, I was my wife and I were dating when she was with me when I would go to shows and practice, and she would see me carry this Marshall cabinet up and down these flights of stairs to my drummer's basement and so forth, and she saw me carrying it down here, and she's like, "What?" I'm like, oh.
We all got one, Steve. See, there's mine right there. That's a katana head, and then right underneath is my 5150 hat.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And for you, see there, look, just for you, Ibanez band.
Nice.
Look at there. See?
Yes.
Jimmy.
Yeah, we ready for trivia there, Bishop David?
I do. I just want to say another funny thing to that is when you're gigging a lot, like your cab, you get to the point where you don't care that all the pleather or leather is ripped off the bag.
Oh,
So
you should see
sick
this
alone
thing,
that piece
man.
of shit. I've changed the casters 7 times or 6 times on that because you're like, I'm pushing. We're down in Milwaukee. We're gonna play this gig. The sidewalk's uneven. I snapped 2 casters off. I'm like, no, like no. Somebody help! And I'm like, I gotta carry that.
You got a flat tire.
It's like getting a new guitar. Like the first time you get a ding in a guitar and you cry for a few minutes and then you're over it and you move on. I don't own all my guitars are meant to be played. So if somebody grabs my guitar and accidentally bumps it into something, I'm fine. They'll live. They'll
All right, but
I got dents all over this thing. I've had it since
doesn't it
99.
seem like the guitars that how can I put this? I have some guitars that you don't care for. I shouldn't say that, but you have your guitars and you're like, oh my goodness, you gotta be careful with this thing. You ever
Leave
notice
them in the
those? You
cases.
ding those more than the ones that you just don't.
Yes, for sure.
I can't even
never-
scratch the ones that are like my cheapy guitars because it's like, no, never happens. But my,
Part of the reason for that, though, is your cheapies are still hanging on a hook somewhere.
right there on the stand. Yeah.
2002, I bought 2 Star Wars guitars, limited edition, only 5,000 made by Fernandez, $1,200 a piece.
Oh, wow.
I shit you not. I was so proud of them. I had my credit card. I'm like, I'm making payments. My drummer, every Friday, we would practice from 6 o'clock Friday night to 5 in the morning Saturday. He came over. I had this house. The floor bounced like this when he walked out. I had them all in the stand. We're getting all drunk, of course. It's probably, 2 in the morning. They tip over, fall into the drums. The heads are chipped. The necks are chipped. I'm like, I don't even have them paid for. I should have left them in the case. Like, that's what happens when you have them all. I'm like, oh, my God. So, but anyway, oh, God, the stories could go on and on. So, all right. We will continue with Steve Stine, but right now we are going to hit our trivia, everyone. So here we go. Trivia time. was my old band. That was my 2 albums ago.
Very nice.
Here we go. You know, Steve, if you want to answer, go for it. You can type in the chat or whatever you want to do. So here we go. Okay, I have not seen any checks. I'm not doing split screen. I got my phone here, but I'm not going to look at it. Oh, Brian S. says,
I have the chat up.
Brian S. just wants to say, please tell Stevie taught me my first song, Watching You by Kiss. He's playing on his gem. He just wanted you to know that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and I could see you said that's just wrong with the smiley face. And again, it's all I had at the time. That was it.
Don't worry about what he's saying. Just wrong.
No, but it's just funny because people don't realize the history. Now I have more guitars, but man, that's all I have.
Well, to be fair, Brian's a little bit of a Gibson snob, so I'm just kidding, Brian. I own Gibson, Brian. So, there you go, Brian.
Hey, we can say that because we own Gibsons. But all right,
right. I have a Gibson, so yes, several. Also, all right. Sorry, Brian. Number 1. Who was Prince's love interest in Purple Rain? No multiple choice. No multiple choice.
What the?
Who was Prince's love interest in Purple Rain?
Hey, if you were a kid from the 80s, you should know that.
I think I know. It's.
You might have to pronounce the name for
I
me,
think
Joseph.
it starts with an A.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
How's that?
Yeah,
That's partially right, R2. That's partially right, brother. That's partially right.
I think I know it. Do I win anything?
Sure. What do you want me to give you? A hat? I can't even order them yet. I owe like 10 people hats. Gabriel Tolan's been waiting for a hat for 3 months, he said. I apologize for that. I don't know. What we got going in the chat,
right,
man?
We got Kelly. We got Will Starr. Well, we got Kelly was saying Aldonia. We got Will Starr with Apollonia.
There you go.
Bruce with Appalachian Mountains.
Here we go.
Quentin James, Apple Phone 7.
Look at Apollonia.
Apollonia Quintero.
Will Starr says Apollonia, but we should give it to Kelly because he said Aldonia. But
No. Will Starr, how you doing, brother? Thank you so much for stopping by. Will Starr's in there?
right, Will Starr got it then, man.
Yeah.
Will,
He
how
wins.
you doing, my friend? Thank you so much for swinging over. I haven't seen you in a long time. How you doing, brother? All right, number 2. Moving on. All right, everybody, get your Google fingers ready. Here we go.
Wait a minute. Did you know that answer,
Number 2.
Steve?
I did, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I gave
Who's the
everybody a
lead
hint.
singer? Who's the lead singer for Bad Company?
Oh, I know this one. Come on.
No multiple choice. Multiple choice is
Come
allowed.
on, everybody. You can
Just
do this.
original or
This is easy.
You're talking about the original one, right?
Yeah.
Joe, yes, right?
Yes.
That's the original.
singer. I mean, yeah.
This is Joe's question right here.
Yeah.
Come on. I don't
The
see anything.
original singer. Who was the lead singer for Bad
All
Company?
right, we have it here. We got Andy DM with the first one here.
What does he say?
He's got it wrong. He says Brian Rogers, but Charlie S. is Paul Rogers.
That's it.
Charlie in the house.
That's it.
Andy, you're almost there, man. I don't know where you got
Andy, so
Brian
close,
from.
man. If you could Google a little quicker, you would have got it. No, but that was good, Andy. Good job, man. Charlie S. Excellent job.
There you go.
Charlie S. stepped in and said, "What's up?" Number 3. What was the first video ever played on MTV August 1st, 1981? It is the song and the video.
Wait, were you born yet, David?
I was 3.
Okay.
Word. I was 3 years,
He's
1
a
month,
youngster.
2 days.
Yeah.
All right.
can't remember how to play it either.
MTV, the good.
I don't
old
think you've
days.
ever heard of this band ever since. Has anybody?
I haven't.
We got Snagglepuss.
The name of the song.
Snagglepuss.
Well, that's what I'm just reading what they're. Okay.
Oh, you know, that's
we go.
good. That's,
Video killed the radio star from
That's it. That's correct.
whoop,
all right.
whoop, whoop.
Adam.
Adam?
Adam got it.
What's his Adam?
Burse, B-U-R-S-E.
I'll go to the chat.
Sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, man.
What'd you say? B-U-R-S-E?
R-S-E. Yes, sir.
All right.
Will Starr wants to know what he won for the first question.
Will, Jesus, Will, my God. Come back and hang with us sometime, I guess.
A gem
Whoa.
autographed by Steve Stine.
I'm broke and you can't order no hats right now, so get in line, man. Just kidding, brother. Will, you're a good friend of mine, and I try to pay off in friendship. Here we go. Question number 4. True or false? Bob Seger and the Silver Bullet Band had Glenn Frey as a backup singer. True or false, everyone? 10 seconds.
Oh.
This is
3,
our
2,
timer. This is our timer,
1,
Steve.
time.
I don't see anything.
That's a bust.
That is
bust.
true. That is true.
Oh.
It is true. That is a bust. Come on, guys. Glenn Frey. What the?
I guess we'll
I
give
was
it to
kidding.
Great
I had no
Vanzini.
idea. Well, Great Vanzini come in with it?
Yeah. True, he says. TRU. But we'll give
All
it to him.
right. Well, yeah, it's great. Great Vanzini.
Awesome, folks.
How you doing, Great Vanzini, my brother?
Good evening, sir.
Great Vanzini. We got holy crap. We got Will Starr with number 1, Charlie S. number 2, and Burst number 3, and Great Vanzini number 4. Moving on, number 5. Richie Blackmore started his career as a session guitarist and played in several forgotten bands before finding success in which band? I will give you multiple choice on this. Multiple choice is T-Rex, Jethro Tull, ZZ Top, Deep Purple. 10 seconds.
Time.
Is it time? What we got going on, boys?
Let's see. Brian S. says number 5, whatever that means. Andy DN, Deep Purple. Wolverine, Sheila A. What?
Andy Dion to Deep Purple. Boom, baby.
That's it.
Andy got it.
Andy is becoming a fountain of knowledge. Here we go.
Congratulations, Andy.
Congratulations, Andy Dion. Oh boy, this is a long one. Here we go. Number 6. Jimi Hendrix's life was one big blast of distortion. His career at the top lasted only 4 years before his death in 1970. What was particular about his guitar that made him very difficult to emulate? No multiple choice. Straight up, good luck.
Straight up. You're on your own. Man.
You get nothing.
You get nothing. Multiple choices, like,
All right.
Look, man, I walked into a boat
What do we
prop.
got here? We got a smiley face. We got hi Jack.
Smiley face wins it right there.
Steve, I hear you, man. I hear you. He just gave it away.
Steve gave the answer away, everybody. You should have been paying attention. He totally gave the answer
Eddie
away.
Dion got a thing here.
I can't see the chat. What did Andy say?
Upside down.
Andy, you're a genius.
Andy Dion enters once again for a correct answer.
Where's Thrash? Andy, I'm going to make a new belt out of cardboard and send it to you, man, for Trivia Champions.
Out of cardboard.
What
damn.
the heck?
With
Andy's
these
like been
mop tops,
kicking
you can
ass
make
on
a-
trivia.
It's non-flammable.
Well, let's not go that far. Number 7, Peter Frampton played lead in a Brit band Humble Pie before hitting the megastar status as a soloist. His live performances are legendary. Frampton literally made his guitar talk. How did he get this? How did he make his guitar talk, everybody?
Oh wow.
R2?
Something that was attached to the microphone or something.
You just R2 just pretty much gave it away.
What is it called? I don't know.
Well, right, no, but that's
Fart
fine.
box
I'm
or something.
He actually
Fart box.
produces
fart
those
box.
now. He's got a company that produces them, I believe. I saw it on YouTube
And I know-
earlier in the week.
Really?
Yeah.
All right,
Steve, you know what I'm talking about?
Come on.
We have Andy Dion with Talkbox.
That's right.
Yeah, they now have a digital talk box. Yeah,
But Frampton has his own line out now.
yeah, I do believe that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy.
That's
Andy has number 3, 5, 6, and 7.
Wow, Andy.
Damn, Gina.
He's going to win that PRS.
He's going to win that cardboard belt.
Not my PRS. You win a hat when they get back in stock. I can't afford another PRS. I only have okay.
Oh, Lord.
Everybody, we have bonus questions. Somebody better challenge Andy here. Here we go.
Here we go.
What one are we on? Number 8? Number 8. Eddie Van Halen's fretwork paved the style for the likes of Steve Vai, Yngwie Malmsteen to enhance. Van Halen also pioneered a technique that would become his trademark. What was that?
Valerie Bertinelli. Oh, well,
What?
wrong answer. Sorry.
What the?
Oh, man.
This is easy, guys. This is easy peasy, baby.
Okay, Charlie. I just want to go back to what Charlie S. was saying here. Fram tone. Going back to the
The talk box, yeah.
talk box, yeah. All right, so
Charlie was thinking too deep into
we
it.
have Andy Dion with tapping.
I'm going to see. I'm going to give a 10-second timer, Joe, to see if somebody can beat that answer. Otherwise, I'm going to give it to Andy. 10 seconds. 4, 3.
Time.
Damn. Two-handed double tap. I'm going to give it to Andy Dion.
Holy smokes.
Holy shit, people. Andy's got number 3. No, it's Adam.
Lordy.
I don't have my glasses on. Your contacts so bad. Andy's got 5, 6, 7, and 8. Will Starr got number 1. Charlie S. got number 2. Adam got 3. Great Vanzini got 4. Andy got 5, 6, 7, 8.
Shamil's.
I don't know, man. We're gonna have to
I
send
guess we're
Andy
not going to
something.
the bonus round. Okay.
Wow.
You guys can pull through strong. Here we go. Number 9. This guitarist isn't named Tommy, but he knew how to smash up a guitar, and he sure played a mean pinball. Who is this legend? 10 seconds, Joseph.
Give him a little more.
More than 10?
Yeah.
Because I got to Google it.
Another
5 more seconds.
All right. Another 5. Here we go.
4, 3, 2, 1.
Time.
Bust.
I got Paul Rogers, John Entwistle, Andy
Entwistle.
Dion. Andy Dion with Pete Townsend.
Come on. Did he come in after I... What,
No,
okay.
these guys.
Andy's got it?
Andy's got it.
Wow, man.
Andy, what are you doing? Studying encyclopedias or what? My good God, son.
A blast from the past.
Here we go. Well, Andy, you have 5 through 9, Andy. So if you want to take a break on this one, that'll be fine. Number 10.
Wait, hold on. He says
Wait.
he already has the answer before you have the question, and the answer. Oh, just kidding.
Just go for it, Andy. Yeah. Slow Hand is not the only nickname of this legend. It's also the title of his best album featuring Wonderful Tonight and Cocaine. Who is this?
Come on, let's see. Who we
I
have?
already wrote Andy Dion down, so I don't know.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. We got a new. We got Wolverine. Wolverine with Eric Clapton.
Wolverine's in the house,
All right.
but that's not enough. Okay,
All right.
Andy set that out for fun, apparently. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Andy got 5 out of the 10. Congratulations, Andy Dion. You rocked that shit.
Andy Dion, the remaining champion of trivia on Stafford's Music Studio. With music by Steve Stine.
Now, if you want on this 44 Magnum, you can shoot it single action.
Uh-oh. What the?
No, 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 no.
Ozzy says no.
Oh man,
Makes you want to jump off a cliff, don't it, Dave? Jump off the wall. Oh man, he's muted. You're muted, dude. Hey man, you're muted.
Cool.
Okay.
Gotcha. It remuted on that last clip. Andy, congratulations.
were you swearing at us, man?
Yeah,
Steve-
man, I was going on.
Steve was like this.
Steve's like,
All
hey,
these guys. Man.
I'm reading his lips. I know what he's saying.
Steve's like, why am I here? How did I
This
get
is
wrapped into
boring.
this? I'm like,
Missed
I
a
don't
gig
know.
for this.
Steve's like ready to do like one of these deals right here.
No, Joe, don't jump.
Steve, we have a lot of fun here, man.
Oh man. All right. Back to
Bunch of
guitar.
silly stuff.
Andy, great job, man. That was phenomenal. I cannot believe how fast a router you must have. Because mine would have smoked and melted after the first question. So Quentin James, what's up, man?
What?
All right. So we got 2 segments left. It's 10:31. I think we wanted to just briefly touch on. I could talk to Steve all night about this music stuff. Everybody, Steve Stine. We got 44 watching. This is a man. He is a fountain of knowledge. Please, if you have any questions that have been just on your mind, put them into the chat right now, because now is your chance to get them answered. And we're going to go into our next section probably within 5 minutes here, and that would be Guess This Riff. So I guess trying to think where we were kind of off. R2, didn't you say, do you have, let's see here.
What you got?
Nothing. I mean, Wolverine. Is it true you got a Camaro in Bill and
Cameo.
Ted's?
Cameo.
Sorry. Ted- oh my
Yeah,
God.
Trans Am.
Ted's 3-Face and music, or your music used in the film. Cameo.
No,
Did you get a cameo?
I wish that was true, but that is not true.
But he does have a Camaro. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody's got a Camaro.
Hell, I'd love to have one, man. I'd love to have one. Man. Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
Now we're in trouble. The glare. That's why I take them off.
Nuglaris.
If it wasn't for COVID, I'd have contacts by now, but Will Star, Steve, I just can't get away from the octave chords and single note harmonies.
Octave chords and single note harmonies?
I don't completely understand that one, Will.
Octave chords.
Octaves are great. Single note harmonies are great.
I use octaves a lot, man.
Are you saying, Will, that you're using the octaves as harmonies? Is that what you're saying? I'm not completely sure what you're saying, Will.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
There's nothing wrong with using octaves.
No, there's not. And there's nothing wrong with, I mean, single note melodies, you know, the one thing I would say, Will, is try and work on not just those sorts of things, but try and work on your phrasing. You know, don't just think in terms of like a concept. Try and learn to, one of the most important things is learning how to connect your melody, you know? So if you hear a chord, like if you hear A, you know, try and learn. You know, learn how to create melodies around those chords. That's really important.
Mm-hmm. But I want to ask you, if you, I'm sure you have, this would be a silly question, have you ever hear a melody in your head and just play it on your guitar where you sing it or hum it, and you go, what would that sound like on guitar?
Yeah. Oftentimes I have to find it though. It's not like I can hear it in my head and I go right to where I play it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys know who Mitch Malloy is, but he sings for Great White.
Yes.
Mitch, I used to play with Mitch, and Mitch is actually from North Dakota. And he would fly back to Fargo, and we would hang out, and I would give him lessons and things like that. And Mitch was one of those guys I hear is like Eddie Van Halen. I don't know this for a fact, but Mitch could hear melodies in his head. He had no idea what scales were and things on the guitar. He never thought of it that way. And even when he'd come back, we really would just wind up hanging out because he really wouldn't pay attention to lessons anyway. But he could play what he heard in his head. So it wasn't based off visual patterns and knowledge. It was based off sounds that he would hear in his head. And he could play it instantaneously. And of course, he's a songwriter. I mean, he's a very, very talented songwriter. So that was kind of his gift. I always thought that was really interesting. I heard that Eddie Van Halen was very much like that too.
He actually, I saw a video on YouTube where he auditioned to be the singer for Van Halen.
He did.
Before
Yes.
they did the big MTV reunion thing.
scrapped.
And
He did.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I was like, holy smokes, man.
Yeah.
So it kind of makes you wonder what would have happened.
Yeah, he's incredibly talented.
Oh, yeah.
I just think they were probably going through their whole thing, and no matter who they would have had, probably wouldn't have worked out.
Yeah, the only reason why I asked you that is because one of my biggest influences, and I'm sure a lot of people would be David Gilmour.
Mm-hmm.
And when he would do, I believe it's "Wish You Were Here," where he's actually playing the solo part, and you actually hear him humming it.
Oh, sure,
And-
yeah.
Yeah, and, like he's playing, like he's singing and playing the guitar solo at the same time.
Right.
And that's what kind of influenced me to kind of try that out, where I discovered a lot of things on the fretboard by doing that.
Right.
By just hearing a melody and trying to follow it on the fretboard and discovering certain patterns and going like, that's interesting.
Right.
So I was just curious if you...
Yeah, I used to play with a bass player that he would have his bass solo every evening, and it would be different every night, and he would harmonize with his bass solo in real time. So he'd be playing and singing harmony to whatever it was he was making up.
That's awesome.
And it would have been less cool had he done the same thing every night, but it wasn't the same thing every night. It was just him doing his thing. It was pretty cool. More talent in that aspect than I certainly have.
Do you have a one performance or gig or whatever that sticks out in your mind that you always kind of, you think to yourself, man, I won't never forget that moment. That was awesome. Is there a certain performance or gig that pretty spectacular, or are they all
Well, there's not really. I mean, there's tons of really good ones, and then there's a few really bad ones, I mean, there's when you go to some small town and there's 8 people there and you're 5 hours away from home and you wish you were at home, Those are the forgetful gigs. Otherwise, 90% of them were always a lot of fun. I guess one of them would have been, there's a number of them, but one of them would have been opening for Journey. And we got there and Journey's road crew met us and carried in all of our gear.
Wow.
And then they had to take them back with food set up, and all the guys from Journey came out, and this is when Dean was playing drums with them, and they all hung out with us, and we all ate together, and then Neil brought me up on stage and showed me his rig, let me play his guitars.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was unusual because most of the time, we wouldn't open for bands very often because most of the time it's just a crappy gig and, the sound sucks and whatever. But this one was really unusual because they were so nice to us. And then during our set, they were over, how usually there's a little side spot where people can't see them. They sat the whole time and watched us play. And
wow.
Yeah,
great,
it was really cool to just hang out with everybody.
That's awesome, man.
That is awesome. Like I said, and there's a lot of bad promoters out there. We drove all the way to Chicago. Basically, all you were doing was playing in front of the other 4 bands in their +1. I was like, what the hell? Like, I burnt up my whole night.
Wow.
Driving down here and playing. And then they're like, hey, can you kick in on the sound guy? And we're like, hell no. Like, are you kidding me? Like, we're supposed to be getting paid, and you want us to kick on the sound guy. So it was like, wow.
Yeah.
That's when, you know, bad promoters get up in an area where you're clubbing and playing in these clubs, and they're like, oh yeah, I got this and that and this and that, and then it's all bullshit. But
Well, and gigging's a tough thing because, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, if you're playing in a bar anyway, you know, your job is to sell tickets and sell alcohol, you know, and that's kind of what your job is. And trying to draw that crowd isn't always easy. And a lot of times, like you just said, having more bands on the bill sometimes works, but sometimes it doesn't work. You know? So it's that weird craft of trying to figure out how do you get people to show up. You know, for us, it was always, depending on which band I was in, it was always either just the musicianship was at a very high level and the energy was at a very high level, and sometimes the comedy was at a really high level. So people would enjoy the whole thing because it wasn't just music; it was trying to create an experience for people. You know.
That's awesome. So let's take a couple quick questions from the chat, and then we'll move on to our next segment because it's 10:41. So the Jack the Rabbit, he says, Stafford's Music Studio, does Steve play acoustics?
Mm-hmm. Like acoustic, yeah, I love
acoustic guitar.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of his videos.
I've seen him play them too.
Yeah. No, I love to play acoustic, but you know, when you do this kind of setting,
right,
the time it's easier just to plug into an electric because people can hear it, you know, through this whole streaming situation and things like that. But no, I enjoy playing acoustic. I don't like finger pick and stuff as much as I'd like to. You know, there's a lot of different styles out there that I would love to learn, like bluegrass. I love bluegrass. I think that'd be really cool.
Awesome.
But there's just not enough hours in the day for me to. I'm not willing to give up what I've created to start something else. You know, like Tommy Emmanuel is one of my favorite guitar players, absolutely, of all time. And maybe in my next life I can try and study and become more of that kind of player. But no. So I enjoy playing. I tend to play much more electric.
Well, that's just it. There's not enough hours in the day, and that's a problem we all run into. Andy Dion says, Stafford's Music Studio, do you use pick slanting? Actually, I do, and not always on purpose. Sometimes I wish, like even watching Steve today on some of his videos, like, I need to straighten it out more than I do, but I am pick slanted naturally, and it helps for artificial harmonics, but otherwise, it's not always... I don't know. I try not to pick slant too much.
You have to be careful that you don't overdo it. Otherwise, you lose the percussive attack of the pick if you do too much. You know, and even if you sit with your guitar like this, or you know, like when I'm playing, when I stand up, the guitar is more like this. So you have to be careful that I'm not coming in at this angle because it would be too much.
And I think one thing that's good too is like I will watch a video I make or whatever because I want to evaluate myself and like, damn, Dave, you're really pick slanted on that. Or certain songs are more than others, but it's like, so it's kind of that's one thing that I work on too is certain things like just what Steve said, to keep it.
You want players like Chris Impellitteri or Michael Romeo, for instance, from Symphony X. You watch players like that, and their pick moves so little when they're playing. It's astonishing that it just barely moves when they play. You know, Paul Gilbert to a certain degree, but like Michael Romeo, watching him play is just crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I quit. I won't buy a Paul Gilbert video because it's like
I bought those just to watch him play.
Just to watch him play. That's what I used to do. He's like, hey, I play here. We're gonna play all over the neck.
I go to the music store and get those new from REH video.
I love Paul Gilbert, man, but. You know what? It's nice to know that there's somebody else that makes git faces besides me.
Right.
He
is such a...
But he's passionate.
Yeah, and he's such a good dude. Like, he's a really, really nice guy.
Oh, yeah.
He's just generally... And that's what's so weird, too, is that the older I get and the more I meet a lot of these guys... Everybody's just happy that they're doing their thing. Like the competition thing tends to exist more in that middle area.
Right.
Where those guys are all everybody's just doing their thing, you know?
Well, the shitty thing was when Paul Gilbert hit the scene too, it was like VHS. Like, I remember like you would sit 2 feet from us, you could boom, hit the pause on the VHS player, and then all the tab was just complete blur.
Yeah.
And he's just like, why use this much of the neck? Let's use the whole neck. I was like,
Yep.
you know, him and Doug Marks is like, yeah, okay, I'm done. I'm done. Like, let's just
But
jam.
see, that's what we had to deal with back then, man.
They were really expensive.
Oh, they were.
Yeah.
So my buddy, so we would buy them.
$50, $49.99 for the
Yeah.
Dude, you know what we would do? We
VHS.
would go in three ways because I was in a band, right? I said we'd go in three ways and then dub them because you could dub them if you would
Yeah,
take
if you
two
had two
VCRs.
But
Yeah.
every time
So we
you
all
would
had
copy
double-
it, that next copy was
It gets
worse
worse.
than the last one.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, and
Dude, it
degrade.
was like
I
having a
would
cloth
play
over your
guitar.
face.
Nobody played guitar in the trailer court where I was at. Nobody played guitar, so I would mow lawns or shovel driveways or whatever and save money. And that's what I would do. I would buy those videos, and then there was a Pizza Hut not very far from where I lived. And any extra money we'd go over and eat pizza.
Yeah, there you
It was
go.
so funny because my wife put up this Christmas scene. I hate to talk about winter. And she needed this stuff for the different elevation of these houses that light up these little things. And I'm like, hey, that's my Metal Methods. just like, we don't even have a VCR. I'm like, you're right. Never mind.
That's great.
Thanks,
Oh, that's
Doug.
my, like, you know how much
but, hey,
money
I
that
will
was
have to-
25 years ago?
I've said this before. I've said this before on this live stream, and I did return that. I'm sure Mark Duggs isn't watching this video, but I did return that video when I was like 16, 17 years old, man.
You
'cause
did.
I returned it. I got my money back. I don't know who I talked to back then. You got to think this was like late 80s, early 90s. And then I said, hey, man, I want to return this video. And he's like, okay. Just send
You're
it
talking
back.
about Doug Marks?
Yeah, Doug Marks, Metal Method.
Yeah. See, I
Damn,
love-
dude.
And because I watched it, and I watched it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I watched it, and I was just like, I don't know. I'm not really. I did grab one thing from
Can't
it,
see anything.
and it did help me. I always tell everybody. I even told my bandmates this when I was in my first band. Doug Marks did say something that just always stuck with me, and I'm going to just share this with everybody. It was when I was going on stage. The people that I performed with my first band, they already had experience. They had experience touring, not touring, but playing the scene and the club scene and so forth. And this was my first time ever on a stage with these guys. And so the rest of my band members had experience. And I remember hearing my drummer, he was in the next room, and he's like, hey, I'm really worried about him, man. He's never played on stage before, and I think he's going to just freeze up. And the weirdest thing is I walked in that room, and I go, Chuck is my drummer, and I said, hey, man, as long as I know my parts, man, we're good. We are good. I'm confident. And he went,
That's the big deal.
okay. You know where I got that from? Doug Marks. So before I returned that video, I remember Doug Marks saying, as long as you know your parts and you're confident in what you're playing as far as your parts, you'll be fine up on stage. And that stuck with me up there because I remember that with our band, we were really tight. We made sure we got the set down exactly to a T. And I felt so confident when I heard that. I went up to the stage and I heard his voice and I went, I'm going to do this. So I feel bad returning his money. So Doug Marks, if you're out there, I'm sorry for returning the $50, but I was 16 at the time, and that $50 got me a lot of beer. So, I thank you for that. So
That was huge money back then.
$50,
That
man.
was huge.
Yeah.
When I told my mom at $50, she's like, "You better be a virtuoso on the guitar." So I returned it.
Boy, I'm gonna
Well,
whoop
that was
your
the
ass.
thing.
You don't learn that guitar.
You spend the $50 and you're waiting to bring this video home, and it's going to change your world, and then you just
Right.
watch it for like 10 minutes going,
What?
I'm
I
screwed.
can't do any of this, and I don't understand what's going on, and he's talking too fast and he's playing too fast.
Yeah.
I
I
tell you the
remember
one
watching the Chris and Pelletieri one, and it literally sounded like a drill. It was just
I tell you the one that got me, which I'm actually went down the rabbit hole the past couple of days on YouTube, watching a lot of stuff about this guitar player I'm about to mention. He is so awesome. He has such a great resume. Played on so many hit songs in the 80s. He was a big time session musician, but he had a REH instructional video as well. And you can see it on YouTube, and it's Steve Lukather.
oh yeah.
I got his.
Oh,
and
yeah, I
was like,
remember,
I was
yeah.
like, holy smokes! And he's sitting there, and he's just blazing. And he goes, "Okay, here's the solo for." I was like, "Wait a minute, dude! I can't." What? So I blame myself for, for trying to elevate myself to that level when I wasn't even ready for that yet. So
Well, and you
it's
think
not.
about those guys at the time too. they were performers. They were writers. They were, they weren't teachers. And I'm not saying they may not have been teachers in their former life, but these were valid, real players. Tony Iommi, Starlick stuff, all that stuff. And now they're supposed to sit and do
show me how to play like you.
Play a scale, I mean, and because I was the same way. I mean, I expected it to be something that it wasn't. And then as I got older, I realized that they were very valuable because I could go back and watch those. But what I learned was you can only watch about 30 seconds of it and then grab something and then just shut it off.
Right.
You just sit and watch it for an hour. What good's it going to do you?
Just to watch them play. If you want to just watch a really good guitar player play,
that's what I did.
They were great for that because that's what we did. I watched hours of it, and I was then we got serious. We're like, push pause. Like, okay.
My son was like, "Hey, Dad, you learn any of that?" I was like, "Hell no, I can't play none of that, man." I said, "I'm just watching them. I'm having a good time watching them play." I said, "Maybe one day I can do a small percentage of that."
Well, that's for me, like Steve Lukather and Neil Schoen. Like those are two of my favorite guitar players. Again, the 16-year-old me wouldn't have said that because all I listened to was metal. But when I experienced what it's like to hear players that not only can play fast, but they can play melodic. They can play just as well, if not better, in major than they can in minor. And everybody knows minor's easier to fake your way through than major. Major's a fair.
Oh, yeah. And to play it clean. All right, well, we got one question. Will, I don't know if we'll get this or not. I'm not sure. We're going to hit this, and we're going to move on to the next segment because the clock's ticking. Here we go. We'll start. Thank you, David. Steve, I just got my Spark amp. Are they easy to set up, please? I don't even know. Guys?
I never tried one, so I can't.
I never tried one.
The Spark, again, it's just sitting here because before I did this, I literally just did a video for them. So I plugged this into my recording stuff and used it. But the Spark basically is it's really easy to use. But the easiest way to do it is you need the app for your iPad or whatever it is that you use. I use an iPad. And so with that, it's really easy to just grab what amp you want, what cabinet you want, what effects you want, and then dial it in, or just go out on their cloud and grab a tone that you kind of like and play. So I use this actually. Usually, it's in my living room. When I get up in the morning, I usually just warm up on it and do some finger exercises, things like that. And then I'll just grab, because they have all of these jam tracks and stuff that are already set up to go. So if you go to blues, you can just scan through there and go, I think they through YouTube, and so you can just grab something and start warming up. So I'll do that a lot in the mornings too. And just grab a blues tone and start jamming along with something. So they're really easy. They sound great, and
that's awesome. I seen you with a lot of Hughes and Kettners too, and I really want to get to Evan Randall. I want to get to Hughes and Kettner, and the Grandmeister for the price sounds absolutely phenomenal. So.
Yeah, their stuff is great too. There's, for me, my tone starts with my guitar and my pickups and my fingers.
It's always your fingers.
It starts out here, and then when I plug into the amp, then I can kind of dial in whatever amp I'm using, and most often, just about any amp will work. But you find those ones like the Hughes and Kettner stuff. Again, the tone tends to be very creamy. It's not harsh at all, and that's the kind of tone that I tend to be more in tune with the amp that I use.
Yeah, because you could give you a Hello Kitty guitar, and you're still going to sound like Steve Stine because it's definitely your fingertips.
Well, you're right. The only thing is that you fight more, right?
Right, you do fight more. It's not going to be the tone you want, but it's still going to be.
That's the hard part. Like I've never been one of those guys that can walk into a guitar store and just play any old guitar.
Me neither.
I can do my usual things, but if I really want to play comfortably, it's got to be something that
R2 could though.
Yeah, it's got to be something that
he could do it.
Well, no, even Eddie Van Halen can, because you can watch a video on Eddie Van Halen in his older time where he's like, I can't really do that because I don't have the setup,
Just play it.
Well, let's move on, guys. Let's move on because I know time is moving. We got Steve on, so let's go to. We're gonna go to the next segment, and it's gonna be guess that riff.
That's my favorite part of it.
And now it's time for Guess That Riff with Stafford's Music Studio and Steve Stine.
Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to cut you off, R2. That's right. So guess that riff, everybody. Didn't mean to cut you off, R2. Guess that riff is... We have riffs pre-recorded. Steve Stine is also going to play a couple of riffs after that. And it's not the name of the band. It is the song. Right, gentlemen?
Yeah.
The song. The song's all you need.
Guess that riff.
I have a pen. And for funsie... Because we don't have nothing to give you, really, but it's prestige. Prestige.
Oh, it's fun, man. It's fun.
All right, riff number 1 coming up. Guess that riff. Here we go.
Captain and Tennille. Oh, no. That's not right.
Wrong.
All right.
You played it wrong. You played it wrong. I know.
All right.
It's too fast.
We need the name of the song, not the band. The name of the song. And we got Andy Dion with Master of Puppets.
Holy
Sitting me.
smokes.
Wolverine. Hey, you said Metallica. Wolverine. Hey, we'll give you
Close. See, Andy Dion's around my age, maybe a little bit younger, so he's on that Metallica. Yeah.
Wow. Andy,
Thank
man.
God I played it decent enough for you to realize it was Master of Puppets.
He's probably wearing this
brother,
muscle
amen.
shirt, man. He's ready to box, man.
Andy's ready to...
Andy's on top of his game, boy.
Him and I are throwing down air muscle in here. Let's see here. All right, riff number 2. Riff
Guitar
number...
hack. Feelings.
Feelings. Come on now. I didn't edit the lyrics out. I don't know if that'll give it away or not. I uploaded and I was like, shit, I should have got rid of the lyrics there, but...
No, you did it. You did it. All right, what do we have here?
Andy Dion.
Oh, boy.
Okay,
This
we got
might be too old for...
Somebody says it. All you people up there, stop playing. Let's hear Steve play. Oh, okay.
What?
No, I'm just kidding.
That's it. I'm coming into the chat and I'm blocking. That's it.
Oh,
Winger.
We got
What race is
Winger. We got Winger.
Name of the song, folks.
Winger's awesome.
Won't get fooled again.
There's Daniel. Yeah, look at there.
I gotta
Man.
get back out of this.
Come on, guys. Come on.
10 seconds, Joe. We did
This is
10 seconds
this is a
countdown.
tricky question here because a lot of people hear the lyrics in the song and think that's the name of the song, but it has a name.
Guitar Hack's got it, I think.
Yes or no? Does Guitar Hack got it?
Yes, he does.
You gonna announce it? Because I don't have an answer written in.
Won't get fooled again.
Wait a minute.
All right, who's the master of the chat here? Who's got what?
What?
What do you see, R2? What's going on?
Wait a minute. No. I'm not trying to.
Did I say it wrong?
I think I know Steve knows what I'm talking about. A lot of
do
people
know.
think that song is called "Won't Get Fooled Again," but it's not. It's not.
That's it.
You're
10
thinking of the other
seconds.
song.
But I do see who has it right here in the chat. His name is Mr. Bruce, Mr. B Arch.
Brother Bruce!
See when I
Brother
got
Bruce!
the,
Mr. BHB Jr.
B Junior!
Yeah, 'cause there's
Brother
two
Bruce!
Brother Bruce is Baba O'Reilly.
Brother Bruce!
Joe, you get a big fat F for that one. No, I'm just kidding.
when I got the backing track, it said that won't get fooled again. So,
But Steve, am I correct or
no, you're right.
The song is "Won't Get Fooled Again."
it is good? It is.
The other song is Bob O'Reilly that people call "Teenage Wasteland."
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
So
So
it's
I
Guitar
get an
Hack.
A. I get an
Okay,
A.
yeah, I get an F.
So,
man.
Joe, learn your riffs, Joe. Just kidding.
I know. That's,
It's R2's
Joe.
bad. I'm just shitting you,
my
Joe.
Joe.
Yeah, Bob O'Reilly.
yeah. All right. Well, you can delete R2's guess this riff for this week.
It's all about
Yes,
having fun, guys.
Daniel,
That was
thank you.
awesome.
Daniel Horsley, you are wrong, R2. You're fired. I'm thinking of
we want
the
tomato
wrong
meter on
song.
here.
My bad. Hey, I like the Who.
You were wrong.
I don't love the Who.
Okay, here we go. I'm sorry, that was too much fun. All right.
You got to make it
Lost track
entertaining.
of everything. I just
You have to
lost
make it
everything.
entertaining. Thank you,
Okay.
Steve, for clarifying that. Yes.
Hold on. Yeah, you're right. The bros here. I mean, it really kicks with those 3-inch mags if you don't have much.
Oh, no. Holy smokes, man.
It's coming out.
Yeah, Bruce and I got it wrong, and Bruce and I just lost 10 subs on that one.
R2. Phone it down. Here we go.
R2 will not get fooled again.
Riff number 3 right here. We're
I'm
gonna
surprised
move
they're
on.
not calling me Bob or O'Reilly.
No, we're moving on.
Oh, Lordy.
Nice. Very nice.
All right, man.
Very nice.
In the middle part, you can hear it. The high E string is being muffled by my fat finger over here. But
Hey, man, it happens. It happens.
It does happen.
oh, they got some good ones here, Mr. Fantasy.
It kind of sounds like that.
It does.
I
That's
thought it was a
good.
Bon Jovi song. I'm just kidding.
Quentin James, yes,
Get alive.
won't get R2 again. Yes.
Oh, Lord.
I am so glad I can entertain you guys. Yes.
It's all about entertainment. So,
It's all good, man. We're having a good time.
All right.
what we got?
We got nice strat R2. Thank you.
I jumped back to the comments. I don't see the right answer yet. Let's do a 10-second countdown, man. It's gonna be a bust.
Oh man,
I didn't ever expect this.
I thought people would
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time.
Bust. R2.
It is a Led Zeppelin song. Here, let's see if anybody can get it. It's a Led Zeppelin song from the first album.
5 seconds. 5,
Come on, man.
4, 3, 2, 1. Bust.
That's still people saying, "Dear Mr. Fantasy."
Give it up. What is it?
Come on, come on. Somebody's gonna know it out there.
You're gonna crush them. You're gonna crush them.
Really? Hey, this makes up. If you guys can't figure this out, this makes up for my incorrect. Trying to correct Joe over here. It's like, man, R2, shut the hell up, man. Nobody?
You could give him the name of the band, and well, you already did, didn't
I
you?
did. I said Led Zeppelin first album. How
I was actually surprised nobody looked that up.
about if I sing a little bit of it? Your time is gonna come. There we go, guitar hack. Thank.
Did you?
Guitar hack
Who got
wins.
it? Your time's gonna come there. Guitar hack.
Yes. Quentin James, Stairway to Heaven. No.
Well, right now, Guitar Hack's the lead, and right now,
You guys are fired for not knowing the Zeppelin song. So.
well, you know, everybody can't love Zeppelin, so just most people. I mean, not everybody can be like,
Sorry,
know all the
like a
Zeppelin.
sharp pain over here when
It
you said
depends
that.
on your age, man. It depends on your age. Jimmy
like saying,
Page.
Who the hell is Van Halen?
Who's Eddie? What? Can you take a picture of me at this Tool concert? All right, so we got Steve Stine
I couldn't
here.
believe that. I was like, oh my God.
I know, right?
All right,
made
I
me
won't
feel
play any
so
more.
old.
I won't
It
play
just
any
made
more
me feel so
Zeppelin
old.
for you guys.
No, dude,
That's it.
Zeppelin's awesome
Nah,
to play.
dude, Zeppelin
I
kicks
cannot
ass, man.
believe nobody got that because every time I've covered Zeppelin on my channel, it was like one of my best videos, like up there. So it was like everybody loves to hear Led Zeppelin, man.
Oh, yeah.
I was waiting for Steve to go, dude, you fretted that chord wrong. But that's okay.
I was waiting for Steve to tell me. I was waiting for Steve to tell me, dude, you need to unhook the plow on Master of Puppets. Like, you totally were supposed to play another open chord in between each one. I'm like, oh, God, Steve, I hope you don't hear it good on your end.
Steve thought he turned off his camera or he's going.
I was like, I know it was like ding, 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 but it's like I couldn't move fast enough because I'm out of practice.
Oh, my goodness.
I know what it's supposed to sound like.
Anyway.
Anyway.
Would Steve be so kind to throw a riff for people?
Yes,
to get?
I'm going to solo Steve, everyone. We're going to do a couple guess this riff with our special guest of honor, Steve Stine.
Let's see if I remember this one. Is that enough?
Oh, yeah.
None of us. Oh, yeah.
Beautiful. All right, man, what we got going on in the chat?
Woo!
Yep, Wolverine's got it. Is there anybody before that? No. Diary of a Madman.
Yes.
Yep.
Dude.
Awesome. Very cool. Thank you, Steve.
Steve, I don't know if you ever noticed. I don't know what you've ever done on YouTube as far. I know what you've done, but I mean, like, if you ever try to cover, like, a lot of Ozzy shit gets blocked. It's weird. I've tried a couple Ozzy covers.
That's why I stopped doing a lot of that, because you put in all this work of, trying to replicate the song as close as you can, making the video edits, all that stuff, and you put it up and then they block it.
Yeah.
So that's why at Guitar Zoom we started a club called Play Songs, where we made a blanket license with BMI and ASCAP and CSAC and all those, so I can teach those, and we pay a royalty. And it's very frustrating to go through all the work of making them, and then you post them and they get blocked anyway.
Oh yeah, I've been blocked. Anything AC/DC, anything Ozzy, I've been blocked. So
yeah.
Well, Mr. Steve, do you have another one?
Sure.
All
you
right.
Want another one?
Hell yeah, that was awesome. Let's do another one.
Oh yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Sorry. Got excited there. I can hear the vocals in the background.
From Bruce Dickerson?
Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
One of the greatest screams.
Yeah.
There we go, Guitar Hack. Jimmy Biter, Maiden, Number of the Beast. Well, we got Guitar Hack with Number of the Beast, the song. Jimmy Biter saying Maiden.
It's got to be the song. Yeah, the song, guys, not the band.
So Guitar Hack.
Guitar Hack got it.
Nice. Great singer, too.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Memorable.
Oh, yeah.
I just covered The Trooper, last week?
That's a good one.
Yeah, it's always been fun as hell to play. It's nice because you can play it. Just Adrian Smith and Dave Murray's souls is kind of...
Isn't that great to hear riffs that you can hum to, that you can just... Memorable.
That's right.
One note says a lot, that's right.
Nice.
Well, all right. Steve, what do you want... that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do we got? We're up to 6 riffs. We got Andy Dion with 1, Guitar Hack with number 2. Number 3 was a bust. Guitar Hack number 4.
You know what? They were like, forget R2, man. He doesn't know the Who.
Guitar Hack got 3 out of the 6. So Guitar Hack, are we good there? We good there? 3 out of the 6.
Pretty good.
Guitar Hack, congratulations.
Congratulations.
So we got one more segment, everybody, and we're gonna probably kick into that real shortly here, just because
Yeah, time.
of the time frame. We got Steve Stine from Steve Stine Guitar. He's a fountain of knowledge, excellent guitar player, virtuoso, great teacher. If you have any questions, get them going in the chat right now, because we are not going to be on for that much longer. So, anybody with any questions, light up the chat right now. Anybody watching, jump in. And Joel or R2, if you got any questions right now, go ahead until we see something in the chat.
Yeah, I did want to ask Steve about. Got a couple questions here, but how did you get together with the individuals to do "Still of the Night" from Whitesnake?
The singer, Steve Grimmett is his name. He was the original lead singer for Grim Reaper. And Steve and I have been close friends for a long time. He was actually the best man at my wedding.
Oh, really?
And then Steve and I released an album called Grimstein together. And then I've toured with Grim Reaper a couple of times as well. So Steve and I have just always been really close. And I thought it would be fun to do. It started with a song with Heaven and Hell by Black Sabbath. So he and I decided we were going to do that. And then I brought in a couple of friends, and then I thought, what the heck, I should get a hold of Nick Bocott. So Nick Bocott was the original guitar player for Grim Reaper, and Nick and I are friends, but Nick and Steve haven't done anything since Grim Reaper of the 80s. So I know Nick through Sweetwater and all that sort of thing. And so I got a hold of Nick, and I'm like, when I got a hold of Steve, and I said, would you guys be interested in working together on this tune? So we did Heaven and Hell, and right now it's got like 600,000 views on Facebook or something like that, just about. And so it was a lot of fun. And then we thought, well, what the heck, we'll do it again. Lightning will never strike twice in terms of those numbers, but I never care about how many people watch the videos. I just enjoy doing the stuff.
Yeah. So
we decided we would do another song, and the next song then was Still the Night by Whitesnake. And then we brought on a keyboard player from Sweetwater as well. So we did that one, and now we're working on a couple other ones. And, hopefully the goal is at some point when COVID is done, we actually would get together and do like a little show where we would do some music together, which is cool for me to see Steve and Nick doing stuff together, because I was a huge Grim Reaper fan when I was a kid. So, learning like See You in Hell, that album was just huge for me.
That was cool to see Nick on there. I was shocked by it. That was cool. A cool surprise.
Yeah. And so,
awesome.
It's just been a cool thing. So just different songs with different people. I just did another song. I did Fight the Good Fight with my buddy Mika Tiska from Finland. And he is known as Mr. Fastfinger.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of him before.
Not slow hand.
I was familiar with this stuff because it was like this cartoon character that you could control with a keyboard.
Yeah.
But the licks were amazing. Well, then last year when I was in Germany, I got to hang out. We hung out together, and I got to know him. So just different remote jams like that I've been doing with different people. But that's how that one came about.
Nice, great job, great. I love the video. That was
Thank
awesome.
you. Yeah, they're a lot of fun. They're a lot of work, but they're a lot of fun. Yeah, because I do all the mixing and mastering stuff here at my house, and then the video editing. Although for Heaven and Hell, I hired somebody else out to do the video for that.
Oh, but that Still a Night was good, man. That was awesome.
Thank you.
That was a great job.
That was a fun one.
Any other questions going on over here? We got.
What's the best way to assess what you need to work on the most, where you need to improve? That's a tough question, because it kind of depends on where you feel like you need to go, because again, it seems like 90% of the conversation is always about soloing, where we're not really ever talking about chords and chord variants and things like that, where there's a lot of value in learning how to get away from just playing open chords and power chords or simple bar chords. There's a lot of really great chord structures that you can learn that can really lend themselves to creativity if you like writing and things like that. So that's something that I would strongly recommend anybody do is, start expanding your chord vocabulary. And it doesn't have to start with theory to define what you're doing. It has to start with sound of what your ear is hearing and going, that's a really interesting sound. Like I think of people like Monuments, if you've ever heard that band before, or things like that. There's just a lot of really great players right now that are out there that are doing intervals, stuff like that are doing really unique stuff where the chord structures are just really unique. It's not just a G and a C or something like that. So that's something I would say. If we're talking about soloing, assess where to go. It kind of depends. I always try and get people to think about melody and phrasing before they worry about technique. And right. I don't mean don't practice technique or finger exercises. You can do all of that stuff, but really learn to connect to the music. Like start really figuring out how, if it's an A minor chord, what are you doing to connect to it? Are you just playing a scale, or are you really trying to target a particular pitch or something in your motion? When you play, that's something to think about a little bit to make it a little more interesting. So if you've got that playing and you go, nice. Your pentatonic lick, but if you go,
beautiful,
then it's going to sound a little bit different, right? Or E, like a major chord. So you got an E chord, you're going, there's your pentatonic, which is great. But if you learn, you can make some really nice sounds using open strings.
Nice.
Different things like that, where you try and add a little more to what you're doing as opposed to just playing up and down the scale.
That sounds so good. Can you just, one thing, and we'll go into our next segment, can you elaborate a little bit on what the difference is between, being melodic and phrasing? Just kind of like a layman understanding.
Sure. Like phrasing, I think of phrasing as, like, if you've never watched of my video on meandering, all you have to do is go on YouTube and type in my name and type in meandering, and you'll see a number of videos that probably talks about it. But basically, what you do is you take a tempo, like a metronome, and you set a metronome, and let's say your metronome's doing this. So you're doing bump, 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 right? And again, it doesn't have to be super fast or anything. What you do is you try and train yourself to turn your brain off and move through a scale shape without stopping. So, and you can't just play the scale up and down. You gotta move around. So if you were doing this, dun, 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 and you started doing, whatever, it doesn't matter. You're not consciously thinking about a lick or a motion or something like that. You're just trying to move and figure out if you can move through one position or two positions or whatever it is at that speed, at that tempo, without screwing up, without stopping, right? Because oftentimes your brain will shut down, right? You'll be playing, and you'll run out of ideas and you'll stop. So you just keep trying to do that. Whatever, at that tempo, just keep moving. So once you learn how to do that, and you want to keep expanding the tempo speed, and you might want to expand the positions that you're using, whatever, and these things take time. I'm just kind of summarizing here. But that's what meandering is. Then what you do, the next thing is once you've established, okay, I just want to work with this one position, and I've reached 130 beats a minute or something, and that's kind of where I want to be. Phrasing, what you do then is you take that meandering and you start cutting it into sentences. Mm-hmm. So instead of going the entire time, just brainlessly playing, you start breaking it into pieces.
Nice.
And you
Beautiful,
notice that
man.
it has a little bit of that sort of Eric Johnson-y sound to it because you're not just playing it straight up and down, right? You're adding intervallic movement, even though you're not thinking about it in terms of thirds or fourths or something like that. You're just playing.
Right.
You start trying to cut it into larger and smaller pieces, and that to me is what phrasing is, right? So
That's so nice.
whatever it might be. So that's phrasing. Then melody is that you set all of that aside and you start trying to make a simple mathematical connection from chord to note. And it can be if you've never done it before, it's as easy as A minor, play A, right? Or C, play C. And it might seem very elementary, but you have to start somewhere. So you just start trying to connect those, and then maybe it goes to F. So then you go, well, where's my F? Right? And you make those. Then the next thing you do is if it was A minor to C to F or something, then you start using your scale to insert in between those to make something. You see?
Wow, that's what I mean, man. You explained it so good. That was
Yeah,
so
and
awesome, Steve.
Yeah, and all of those things obviously need to be nurtured and you need to spend time with them. But you see, so phrasing is a little different because phrasing is more like a groove thing where you're trying to create these sentences, and melody is you're trying to find the right note at the right time. Now, needless to say, if you start with just landing on the root all the time, it's not going to be very exciting musically. But it's where you need to start because it makes the most sense, right? You don't worry about thirds or fifths or something like that until you've really established where each root is. And the nice thing about that is you start learning where your notes are on your fretboard at the same time.
Right.
So,
No, that's awesome info. Okay, one last question here, and we're going to go to the next part. We're going to end the show here. So, Metalhead Hippie has a question. Steve, I walk on crutches because I'm an amputee. I'm 33 years. My hands are slow and stiff. What can I do to get better?
well, it depends on what it is that you're trying to get better at. Don't base your value of being able to play guitar on how fast you can play. Again, this is the syndrome we have as a guitar playing society in 2020 is everybody's so worried about how fast they can play. Now, if you can play fast or you want to learn to play fast, that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But a 15-year-old learning to play fast has an unlimited amount of time on their hands. I'm 50 and I've got a family and I've got, now due to COVID, I'm not traveling, but normally I'd be doing a lot of traveling and things like that. You just don't have as much time to develop these things as you did when you were younger. So you have to be, and I'm not being negative, I'm being honest. You have to be realistic of where you are in your life, how much time you have to practice. I mean, if you told yourself, in all honesty, I have 30 minutes a day to practice. Okay, then you're not going to be the next whatever, right? With 30 minutes a day, you're just not.
You need 10 hours a day.
That's right. But it doesn't mean that you can't find an authentic voice in 30 minutes a day. Mm-hmm. You just have to be realistic about what it is that you're trying to work on. Are you trying to learn? Because again, just because you can play, and I'm not dogging speed, I play fast a lot, but it can't just be about a fast lick. Like if that's all you know how to do is play like 3 really fast licks, well, what are you going to do when you have to solo for 3.5 minutes?
Get burnt out, right?
I mean, you can only use the same lick so many times. There has to be more about the creativity of the fretboard. So I think one of the most fun things for people to do, especially when they really get onto it, is learning to visualize the fretboard better and learning to get more creative with their movements across the fretboard. So, when you play, instead of just thinking about playing up like that, you start thinking different ways of being able to play. You see, to try and make it more interesting. Fast or slow, it's entirely up to you, but just trying to make that a little more interesting in your playing, right? And if it's more rock and roll or something, then you're adding in more of like your... But again, that's where all that cool bendy stuff You know, all that kind of stuff kind of comes into play. But I love to just, you know, like I'll just take E, just that sound, and I'll just. And I'll just explore different things with just that note ringing out. So I'm working on creativity, and you know, maybe earlier today I worked on some finger exercises or something, but right now I'm just trying to get to know my fretboard better and how certain pitches sound over that static note.
That's an awesome example.
You did say in one of your videos on how to connect pentatonic scales that learning how to see more of the fretboard as one continuous flow of movement versus just a position or a box.
Yeah. I always call it blinders. Like when a horse has blinders on so they don't get distracted, oftentimes when we learn positions on the fretboard, we only see them as positions. So you can only see the first position when you're playing at it. And then you move to the second position and you can only see that second position. And when you listen to people play, oftentimes you can hear the transition between creativity and fundamental playing, because they'll be playing going, doing something, then they'll move up and they'll go,
yeah,
like, well, I don't know my scale. So, and then all of a sudden they start playing a scale, right?
Right.
Well, okay, so then you shut the machine down at that point and you go, okay, if you really want to learn to play that position, you need to know it as well as you do the first position. So when you go there, you're creating. You're not practicing, you're creating. And if you're not ready, it's okay. But then practice. Then you need to practice that. You need to develop it. And once it's developed, then go in there and start creating again. So when people say, well, is it better to just practice, 2 positions and then get creative, or is it better to practice all 5 positions and get really good and then practice creativity? I don't have the answer for that. It depends on the individual. But if you're just practicing fundamental practice, you're never practicing creativity. And I think most people don't spend enough time trying to really get to know the way the guitar sounds, the sounds that the chords and the notes and the scales and the arpeggios actually make, because we're so busy just trying to practice, exercises and things like that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's unfortunate because people have to realize this, and I wanted it as bad as anybody, but you have to realize if you're trying to learn this, just the 5 pentatonic positions, they're just 5. And it's not that hard, but that might take you a month, all right, to get them down where it's in your brain. It might. And the problem is we all want to know it now and move on, and I get that, but it's worth learning.
Yeah,
so
and remember, anything that you're working on, if you feel like, because what you're talking about right now with scale positions is absolutely crucial. Whether or not you learn all 5 positions or not is entirely up to you, but understand that I always use the term absolution because I don't like the term mastery very much because I don't really know what that means. It makes, it's like a ninja thing. But you need to know something to an absolute level to where you can use it.
Right.
If you don't know what that wrench is for, or you don't know what that tool is for, you can own it. That doesn't mean you can use it.
Right.
So it's better to know. I think I mean this. It's better to know less, but to really know how to utilize that information that you have on a musical level than it is to be a talking encyclopedia.
Right.
I meet people all the time. They go, well, I studied music theory and blah, blah, blah. And then you get together to play and they're still talking. It's like, well, at some point you need to stop talking and we need to play.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's now make this music happen.
The hardest thing is the patience, because I've been there where I want to learn this and I realize there's all this to this. And then I was like, well, I'm going to cancel my plans of doing that. And like a month from now, I'm going to be able to do it. And that's what everyone, you got to just breathe, realize it takes some time. Unless you get a photogenic memory. I mean, and you got to build muscle memory.
That's right. And remember, develop those vocal tools that we talked about before. Hammer-ons, pull-off slides, bending, vibrato, that sort of thing. And then the other thing, too, is that I've got videos out there. You can look up pentatonic expansion. And basically what I do is I kind of fake you into playing diatonic scales without thinking about diatonic scales. Like you can just take your scale, like your A minor pentatonic, for instance, and you learn to add in what we call the 9th or the 2nd. So you're just taking your pentatonic and you're playing this, you're going to the 3rd string here,
Right.
and you're dropping back and you're adding in this note B, right? And you can hear, like if I play something pentatonic and I hit that note, that half step now sounds really, really cool because pentatonic doesn't have any half steps. Now, just because I know that note doesn't mean that I want to play it every single time I play this pentatonic scale. I can set it up to be even cooler, very colorful by not playing it. And then going to it.
Oh, yeah.
So even if you just learn one note and you learn to add that into your scale, and don't get caught up in all of the theory. And again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't learn your theory. I'm saying on a creative level, if you just learn to listen to it and hear what it sounds like and how it reacts to what you were doing before, you've got something brand new that you can add into your playing. Then figure out what a ninth means, or a second, or whatever, Aeolian or Dorian or whatever, right? You can learn all those things on top of that, but at least when you grab your guitar and you start jamming to something, you've got this new note.
Ninth.
That you can add into your playing.
And the ninth is always below the sixth. So that's
Yes,
the
and
one gonna
the ninth is a universal note that can be used in just about any position or any situation. The sixth is more specific. So the ninth is always a good one to add in, because if you're playing blues or you're playing rock or you're playing a ballad or something like that, the ninth is, it'll fit in any of those. Metal, it'll fit into any of those things and it'll sound just great. The sixth you got to be careful with, because the sixth, if you add the minor sixth, you get really sad. If you add the major sixth,
happy,
you get blues, you get Santana. You see? So that sixth makes a big difference on which one you use. But the ninth, we're not using the flatted nine. We're just using the major ninth.
Right.
But just adding that ninth in just sounds great over everything. Where the sixth, you got to be careful.
Well, awesome, Steve. Thank you.
Mind-boggling.
It is. That's all, Steve, man. I could talk, dude. I could talk to you. I could talk to you, pick your brain for days.
Well, that's awesome.
It is awesome. I love it. I love it so much, because I try to tell everyone, it's totally fine if you're not a theory guru. I'm not a theory guru, but I know I can tell you this. Everything I learn, I'm more free on my guitar. And just so much more happy. It's so happiness, because it's
find
out what's going on.
Learn some theory, but at the same time, be learning how to play music on the instrument.
Right.
And then find a world where these two things can merge together. But always be practicing these. And if you're over here and you're practicing guitar, it could mean learning songs or riffs or solos or whatever. It could mean learning licks. It could mean technique. It could mean phrasing or melody or scale study or fretboard study, I should say. I mean, there's all kinds of little subsections of what happens over here, but don't forget that at the end of the day, try and spend a little time being creative. Like, put on a track and don't try and impress yourself by, all the whatever lick, or just the first thing you do with the jam track is listen to it, or whatever musical situation you find yourself in, and see if you can make some sort of connection to it, like you like it. If it's matter of fact, it's a blues jam in E, and you listen to it and it's not doing anything for you, why spend any time with it? Find one that you really like. Like for me, if you go to Still Got the Blues or something, that kind of chord progression. I love that kind of stuff, and those are really fun for me to jam over.
Or for me too, a lot of times if the tempo, depending on my mood of the day, I'll hit a jam track. I'm like, the tempo isn't right. Like you said, you don't want to force it. Find something that's comfortable, find something that's fun, and go with it. So, and then don't be afraid to fail, everybody, because
1,000,000%. That's right.
You gotta fail.
Build like we were talking about earlier. And I know there's a million things out there. You just can't get overwhelmed. Start with something small. Start with just adding one note to your pentatonic, bringing one new position to your pentatonic, meander through those and get really comfortable, or work on those vocal tools. I'm telling you, those vocal tools will take you a long way if you can really learn to manipulate them. A great bend goes a mile, for sure.
Absolutely.
There's no doubt there. All right, Steve, I can't thank you enough, brother. Let's go to pick 3, and then we'll wrap this up for the night because it's getting late and everyone's very busy. Let's see, pick 3. These are going to be pick 3 channels. These are people that usually are in the chat commenting, or channels that we think are worthy. Here we go.
And now it's time for Picks of the Week.
Picks of the week. Picks of the week. Who do we have first? Who do we have first? We have one of my picks right here, Jack the Rabbit. Jack the Rabbit was here in the show a lot earlier. He asked Steve if he plays acoustic guitar. Jack the Rabbit mainly does. He's a singer-songwriter, a very great talent. Let's check him out. You know what? Did I screw this up, guys, like I always do every week? Not hit share the audio. I'm so mad that I did that. I am so mad that I did that. I know I did it. So one more time, everybody hold on. Gosh darn it. I'm so sorry. I was so sick of doing that week after week. It's road to heaven, isn't it? Yeah.
Here we go.
Jack the Rabbit. Here we go, everyone. Beautiful, Jack. Love this guy.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Such a great voice.
Very nice, man.
That's feel right there, man.
Yeah.
Feel.
I've loved everything this band has done, man.
Fun, creative chords. You know,
Yeah, he plays a lot of...
Everybody's looking for something different. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, he doesn't play your basic cowboy chords. He plays more complicated chords, yep.
It's in times like these we all need somebody. Look around, see that you're not there. Old wine and moonshine will not erase your memory. Every morning glory flowers.
Everybody, whoever's left watching this, if you haven't subscribed to Jack the Rabbit, show love, get over and subscribe to him. Great guy. Great musician.
On the road to heaven, gonna find my way back to you somehow. Should I lose myself?
There's Jack.
Yeah, that's music. You know, it's not about guitar. It is and it isn't, right? It's just music, and you love to listen to it, and that's awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful, man.
Jack, I'll tell you right now, brother, I wish I could sing like that. If I could sing like that, the search for a good singer would be over.
Oh, yeah.
I wish I could chew gum and walk at the same time, man.
Hardest thing, man, in all my years of playing in bands is trying to find a singer that only can sing, that can connect, and put a show on, and not stand there like a karaoke singer. You know?
Should I lose myself on the road to heaven? Will you raise me up? You never let me down.
Hell yeah, Jack.
Very nice, man.
Everybody
Beautiful,
make sure
man.
you get over there and give Jack the Rabbit some love. Jack,
Absolutely,
good job,
man.
brother.
Absolutely.
Beautiful,
Oops,
man.
I better stop this. All right. Uh-oh, yeah, I'm slow on the switch. I know.
Share
All right.
audio.
So that was Jack the Rabbit, everybody. Fantastic job.
Very nice.
Hold on. What is going on here? Ooh, I had music pounding in my ears there. Sorry. I got a lot of tabs open for this. So
Technical
we're on the
difficulty.
pick 3. We're on the pick 3. And here we go again. So next up is Joe Wentz's pick. And this is also a close friend of mine. Well, through YouTube being musicians. I might pick it wrong. Let's see. Let me see here. Hold on. Nope, I got it right. Okay. Jim Guidry, everybody. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, a smart mouse. Okay. This is him and his son. Jim Guidry and his son.
Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yeah, buddy. Get it. Get it. Get it. Get it. Yeah, Jim. Randall song's badass. I gotta get an electronic drum set, man, for my daughter. That's the shit for recording.
Yeah, his son picked up the drums not long ago, and they just started jamming together for the past couple of years.
Jim plays in a lot of C, drop C, man. He's a badass player right there. Jim Guidry, everybody. Yeah, show him some love.
Jim Guidry.
You can tell
brother.
You can tell he's heavily influenced by George Lynch.
Oh yeah, the Lynch Mob.
What do you think about that, Steve?
I'm digging it. It's fun. Obviously, he plays well, and you said that's his son. So I mean, that's a cool thing right there. The fact that he's jamming with his son.
Yeah, it's really
That's
cool.
a cool
man.
deal.
Jim's a good dude, man.
Yeah,
Jim's
that's awesome.
Jim's a great dude. All right, so we said we're doing a pick 3. So the final pick again. Sorry, I decided I played the trump card because I can. So here we go.
Because I can.
Steve Stine guitar lessons, everybody.
Here, thank you so much for joining me. What we're going to be talking about
You guys
today
are going to get a free lesson
are
on Stafford's
5
Music Studio
basic
right here.
Essential guitar licks that you should start trying to use. You've developed so many wonderful techniques and visualization
Compliments
of
of
your fretboard and all
Stafford's
these
Music
different things that we
Studio
can use in
and
our
Steve
playing. What I want you
Free
to do
guitar lesson
is
right
to start
here.
trying to focus on playing some guitar licks. Now, guitar licks are really
I usually
good
grow that out in the
combinations.
wintertime.
Look at that PRS custom, baby.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
PRS, baby.
Yeah, that's a fun guitar.
Now this
Gibson
one starts off
what?
with a wonderful bend. It's a second string 8th fret bend, which actually
Gibson
bends
what?
to the root, which if we're in the key of A, you're bending to this note right here, which is A. So it's a great way to start a bend. So I'm starting off doing this bend. If you can add vibrato to it, that's wonderful. So I'm bending it up. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on with a descension through the pentatonic. So I'm playing 5, 8, 5.
Was this in November?
7th fret,
I'm not
do
sure
another
when this
bend.
was.
And this time I'm going to bend it up and bring it back down. So I have.
Steve, this was 7 hours
I'm
ago.
going to go 5.
Yeah, this is one of the.
I know.
Yeah, at least some of these. Some of these are live art. Depends on how much time I have.
Now, when you.
Oh.
7th fret to 5th fret right here. Your two choices are you're either going to bend it up and bring it back down and pick the 5, or you're going to bend it up, bring it back down, and do a pull off to the 5. Whatever's comfortable for you. Okay, so this is the first bend or the first lick.
It's like always the first note I always pick.
Please be aware that
Yeah, that's
your
right.
rhythm will change
I know I do
depending
that
on what you're
most of the
playing
time.
over. Right? So you might play it a little faster, you might play it a little slower, you might lock into the beat. Dun 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 dun. Da 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 dun da dum. You can adjust it any way you want, and that is really, really important because guitar licks are almost worthless if you're trying to play a certain speed and a certain feel to it over everything, because you have to always readjust that to be at the tempo and the feel that you're playing over. So that's the first one we're going to be looking at. So check
Cool.
that one out.
That's awesome.
You know what?
All right, so lick number 2, what we're going to do is we're going to slide in.
All right, if you guys want to, learn, it is awesome. You know what though? Let's do something different here. If you want to learn, make sure you go to Steve Stine's channel. Make sure you get on it, and I'm going to show you something right now. Nope, that's not it. You know what? This thing is tricky. Let me tell you. Give me 1 second. This is Steve Stine.
Right on, man. Hope you closed out all the other tabs you had before you were watching the show.
I was closing them out. You think this is easy? Here it is right here. I'm like a one-man band right here. Here we go.
All right.
Can you guys hear that?
No.
Uh-uh.
No, he didn't share the audio.
Perfect. I screwed that up again.
Oh, that's Metallica. I can tell with fingering.
You're right.
Yep.
You're right, but I'm going to fix everything in 1 second. Hold on. I'm going to stop that. You know, this StreamYard does this really odd thing if you want to share. There's always this box you have to re-hit every friggin' time. Now you'll hear it. If you want to learn lessons, go to his page, but you want to hear Steve Jam. Can you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Black it! What year is that, Steve?
Oh, gosh. I don't know, probably about 5 years ago. Everything for me is about 5 years ago, though.
Dude, you gotta miss that right there.
Yeah, this really is a lot of fun.
Here we go. 1. You gotta ninja kick him. Great song. Creeping Death.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember if it's after this and that's the puppets. I can't remember what order they go in.
Nice, dude. do. I really do. I think he's a great guitarist when he practices. R2, don't you start. No, he is a great guitar player. Kurt Hammond is a great guitar player. He's just
when he practices.
Well, we came in and did all the beads on the cuff while I'm listening. Quiet.
No comments.
Don't start. Kurt Hammond, whoop some ass, man. Kurt Hammond wrote this when he was 16, by the way.
I remember seeing them on this tour. 25,000 people. You turn on the lights and everybody's going, die.
So awesome. My favorite band of all time.
Oh yeah, here comes Master.
Here we go. It's at the same BPM. It's still awesome. He's doing those openings between those notes. I had to cut them out just to get my video made. This part's a bitch. That's a bitch of a riff right there. That riff has always been a bitch right there.
Awesome.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of down picking for 10 minutes.
Awesome. That is cool.
That was awesome, man.
Cool.
That was so
That was
awesome,
great to see
brother.
that.
I gotta push stop. Dude, I can watch that all night. That was so awesome. All right, everybody. Steve, I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. That was so fun tonight.
Yes, sir.
You have no
Thank
idea. It means so much having you on, brother.
Thank you, man.
And if you could stick around for a couple of minutes, we're going to end the broadcast. We'll be in the green room. Everybody in the chat, your participation has been excellent. I'm sorry we did not get to everybody that we wanted to as much as we usually do, but we had more going on. So anyway, everybody stay tuned. Check in next week. Make sure you check the links in the description. Make sure you check out Steve Stine Guitar. Steve Stine Guitar on YouTube. He's also a Guitar Zoom community through Facebook. If you haven't seen him, my God, he's everywhere. You're sleeping under a rock. Make sure you check him out. He's a great teacher, everybody. Love everybody. Yeah, get the rock off your head and get over there and get a lesson. He has hundreds of free video lessons, but I'm telling you, the free ones are great. But if you buy them, there's more in there. There's more quality there, and it's for life. It's for life. So, Steve, anyway, I'd like to thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks, guys.
R2R3.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for coming on, man. If nobody's subscribed to your channel, you should check out his channel. Awesome stuff. Beginner, intermediate, any level, you'll learn a lot of stuff from this guy.
Thank you.
Great. Joseph?
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Thanks for being here. Thank you, everybody, for being in the chat. And had a lot of fun. And remember, the who did right won't get fooled again.
We're gonna end with the outro. We're gonna end with the same Steve intro. No. We're gonna use Steve's intro for an outro. Here we go. Hold on, guys. We're right there.
Look out now.
Steve Stine. Watch out.
Yeah, buddy.
Here's the real shredder right here, man.
Get it, boy.
Comes off the fretboard with Steve Stine as your
instructor.
Yeah,
buddy. That's what I'm talking about right there.